Red Bull GRCs are now available on iRacing. I personally put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, developing the cars, the tracks, the dirt, making sure it is authentic as possible, and I really think you guys are going to love it. The best part is that this 600 horsepower Volkswagen Beetle is free to all members. So get signed up now and come race me online.
They say it's always darkest before the dawn. And in the world of motorsports, those words ring especially true. As is tradition, Daytona greets us as we emerge from our winter hibernation. But this year, we awaken 30 years in the past. This time we celebrate a bygone era as drivers take to the unrefined beasts that are the Audi Quattro and Nissan GTP. A new season is about to dawn. The darkness about to fade. The Major Series and Late Apex Apparel proudly bring you the 2018 Classic Daytona 2.4, an endurance race from the ages, for the ages. Coming to you live, iRacing Live, on February 4th, 2018.
Good evening, hello and welcome to V8 Online's coverage of the Blancpain Endurance Series. Final round tonight, we head to the Nurburgring for round 6 of this series, and it should be an action-packed race once again. Good evening to you all. Jay Kennedy here in the comms box for V8 Online. Supposed to have Reese Gardner alongside me, but he's gone MIA at the moment, so hopefully he'll be alongside me very, very soon. But driver's currently out on track in qualifying. A little bit of a smaller field from what we've had for the rest of this series, with a lot of teams already qualified and into the Pro Series, and of course the Daytona 24-hour this weekend as well. So a lot of drivers with other commitments, which has meant that the field is a little bit smaller than what we would normally see, but no doubt the action will be just as hot. We start to get cars out for qualifying. At the moment, at the top of the timesheets is Euphoria Racing. The 150.1 3-hour race tonight, so a little bit smaller than what we saw last week with the 4-hour race at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. But tonight, the guys at Nurburgring with 3 hours ahead. Still will see 2 pit stops and probably the most suited track for Mercedes in the series. But the BMWs have been the absolute surprise packet the whole way through this series. If they can put another surprise on the board, potentially steal yet another race win. You see T.O. Martin Esports jump into second position. So the field is fairly close to the whole way through. 19 cars separated by under a second. Ryan Racing teams jump to the top, so BMW now on top of the timesheets. Big weekend of broadcasting here on V8 Online. Of course, after we wrap up this tonight, 3 hours time, we will have Race Spot covering the start of the Daytona 24. Odox Motorsport has jumped to the top, so another Mercedes back on top. And they will start the first 8 hours of the Daytona 24. We will jump in when we get up in the morning for what is determined to be the overnight stint for the Euro and American drivers and teams. And then Race Spot will jump back in after our 8 hours is done. Odox Motorsport have jumped out of the car on their second lap, so they are done. What will the Orion team do here? Razzoni currently lapping in this car. We'll see if he can pull something out. Maybe take the pole away. Target time 1:49.8. We'll be able to get that pace up. Won't be able to. It's 1:49.5 as Sin Racing Team jumps into third position. Not many teams left to get laps in Team Esports. 65 car comes across the line and they will slot into 21st position. We've got 41 cars on track for this race this week. Paraguay Racing jumps into ninth spot. Not many drivers left. Actually, checkered flag is out, so we can run through our starting grid. With Odox Motorsport starting this one on pole. We've got Mercedes, BMW, Mercedes, the top four. So Orion Racing Team in second, Sin Racing Team in third, Euphoria Racing in fourth, with GT Rosetta Pro, then Dream Spirits Racing, Amorous 5000, Teo Martin Esports, Paraguay Racing, Dream Factory, your top 10. We've got Jim Racing Azuri, Wave Driving Revolution in 12th position, then Glacier North, Esther Racing Team, SRB Racing, Pure Racing Team Yellow, Odox Motorsport Samsung, Jim Racing Pink, and Evolution Racing Team, and Team Chimera rounding out the first 10 rows. We've got Zenith High Speed in 21st with Team Martin Esports, 65 car in 22nd. Then we've got Team Husingfeld in 23rd, GLT VRT Gold in 24th, then Redface Racing Pro next in 25th. We've got Evolution Racing Team 26, Blackstar Racing in 27th, US Bell I, PSR Yellow in 28th. We'll go to our last page that we'll run through. No Nonsense Racing Yellow, then US Bell I, PSR Red, Team Bushfink Racing Pink, and P&D Racing. First 32 cars as the cars are now getting ready to start to pull away for this final round of the Blancpain Endurance Series, the pro qualifying series for the GT3 cars, as they line up on the back straight, getting ready to get this race underway. 41 cars, as we said, but looking around about 100 laps of racing or thereabouts. Fairly cool track conditions as well, 18 degrees Celsius ambient with 33-degree track temp. A couple of cars that actually have not taken the grid as well, so the 40 cars actually starting the race. VCSim Racing will start from the pits. Odox will be the first car out. Joining me in the commentary box while Reese is still MIA, Corey Ott. Thank you for jumping in, Corey. It's going to be a very, very fun night of racing as we get ready to go green right now. Looks like we're fairly clean into turn 1. Or actually we're not. There's a little bit of pushing and shoving through the mid-pack. The front of the field has got through cleanly though. We are now officially underway for the final round of this championship. Pro qualifying has been very hard fought the whole way through. A few teams not turning up tonight because they have pretty much sealed their slot being in the top 26 teams. And I believe there's 3 wide down the straight out of the arena section. The Evolution Racing Team car on the outside of 32. I'm going to go 2x2. Now Corey's with us now. You got us now, Corey?
Yes, I do. I'm still loading in, sadly.
Thank you for jumping in. It's a little bit last second call up to come in, but appreciate you jumping in. The Odox Motorsport car had its blitzed away already. It's already pulled a second gap on the Orion Racing Team car, and the 2 BMWs are going to battle a little bit here by the looks of it. As the Sim Racing Team car currently in 3rd. Just behind the Euphoria Racing Team's got a bit of a train starting to form already. 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. The Dream Factory car is the biggest movers so far. They've already jumped 3 spots. Started in 10th and now already in the 7th position. The Odox Motorsport car leads this race. 1 lap down. Got around about 98 or so to go in this one. GT Ross Senna Pro car number 2. Will they be able to make a move? Not quite. They were fairly close. Thought they might have been able to have a dive in there. Thought better of it, but the SRB racing car's just lost a spot. The Evolution Racing 32 car. Contact back in the field as well. So fairly clean for the most part. A couple of cars that are a little bit wounded. 3 wide back in the field, but looks like we've made it with only, looks like we have had 2 casualties already. The VEC Sim Racing car, which did start from the mids, have not come out. The MSP Phoenix Racing 2 car, they are also out of the race already. Back at the front though, 4th, 5th, 6th. Looks like it's on already between Euphoria Racing, Dream Spirits and GT Ross Senna Pro. On board with Sotomuto in the Dream Spirits racing car. Now, probably going to see a lot of drafting and fuel saving in this first stint before an out-and-out attack in the second stint. The Orion and Sim Racing Team cars in second and third, they'll want to be making sure the Odox car doesn't pull too big a gap, breaks away from that draft. We'll see if they can do that, but Sotomuto probably looks the raciest out of this lead pack at the moment. Saying that, we're just seeing a change of position with the Jim Racing pink car. Just losing a spot to Pura Racing Team Yellow. We've now moved up into 15th. Mark Enkelman driving that one. The Evolution Racing Team, Jakob Brzezinski, possibly look at making a move here. He's been a big mover as well. Already up a couple of spots from his starting position. Versus Dream Spirits at the moment. Looks like it is a real battle. Salvatalens may lose a spot right now because Sotomuto looks like he may be able to get this move done. Tight battle in these early stages of this race, while the guys are still feeling themselves out, only 5 minutes in, so starting to try and work out where their opponents are stronger and weaker, whether they can potentially get some moves done. front gap now out to 1.6 seconds. And there's a bit of a gap from third back to fourth. This fourth, fifth, sixth battle that we are watching. Car around the Pure Racing Team yellow car. I was saying before that Elkerman was doing a very good job, but he's just lost a whole heap of spots. He's way back in 35th position now. He's lost 20 spots. Get a CPR replay. Try and pick up what's happened. Just run a bit too hot, I think. Actually, some internet issues that possibly caused that and forced him to go off the track. So, bit of a strange one there. We come back live. To 1.8 seconds, first to second. Odox not worrying about fuel saving at the moment. The Ryan team now 2 seconds back. Want to try and start to get a bit of a shuffle on and not lose too much time. Battle for fourth, fifth, and now sixth. We've got a real six-car battle going on now. Sorry, a four-car battle. Fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. Pretty exciting. Factory at the moment, looking like they might be able to make a move. Are they close enough? Not quite this time around. Alex Q in that Dream Factory car now, right up behind Serena. Seeing the Team Miskenfeld number 4 car just losing a spot to Ricardo Ferreira in the Zenith Speed car. So shuffling back in the field, but for the most part the field is fairly line astern, fairly settled. Not too many shuffling, too much shuffling and changing going on right now. The battle for fourth, fifth, sixth is the one to watch at this present stage. With the GT Ross Centre Pro car, Alex Arana. These three have broken away again, so the gap that was there, or was not there, is now back again. Dream Factory car has dropped off through the second portion of the lap. And will Sato Muto be able to get a move done? Yeah, I take of Brzezinski has just lost a spot to the Zenith High Speed car, so Zenith now on a charge. The biggest mover at the moment, they're up a few spots. Unfortunately, Corey Otts had to jump out. He's got some internet issues, so he's not going to be able to join me. So back flying solo once again. Alex Arana. GT Rossena Pro just misses the apex. We'll see Alex Q get close enough to potentially make a move. Maybe not at the moment, but Sotomuto looks the raciest at the moment. Possibly close enough to get something happening. Racing car now, 2.5 seconds they've dropped to the Sid Racing team car ahead, so be a little bit of a worry for the cars behind. They're losing a fair bit of ground to that pack ahead. The Sid Racing, the Orion and Odox cars are just pulling away almost out of sight now. Muto looks really racy. He looks like he wants to get it done. Try and get up the road a little bit more. As you can see, cars ahead just drifting away off into the distance. Odox Motorsport leading the way, 1.9 seconds from Orion Race Team and Sin Racing Team. Then this battle on screen, 4th, 5th and 6th. Salvatalon's now really under pressure. Tom Sotomuto and Alex Arana. That gap, 4th up to 3rd, is out 3.5 seconds. So before a racing car really holding up this pack. Last lap around, they were about 4.5 tenths slower than the rest of the cars ahead, almost 8 tenths of a second slower than our race leader. Sotomuto in behind, he looks like he wants to get this done, and done very quickly. See if he can get a move done. Apologies for the little bits of silence, but trying to find one of our crew to come and jump in for commentary with me at the same time as making sure we don't miss any of the action. But this pack here, still very close, and just actually seeing a bit of side-by-side action back in the field. The team Huskenfeld, number 4 car, it's just got ahead of the team Chimera, number 54, and dropping back down the field. The 32 car, Revolution Racing Team 32 car, has dropped a few more spots, and they're now back in 32nd. Oh, sorry, back in 20th in the 32 car. They were up about 4 spots from where they started. They started in 19th, so they're back down to 20th. Which is a bit surprising from that pace they had in the first 2 laps or so. Move up the field. One of the crowd favourites. Glacier North in there. McLaren. P10. Got a big train of cars in behind them. JJ Nylander at the wheel. Paraguay Racing AV just in behind. Nylander up 3 spots from his starting position. Started in 13th, up into 10th. Muto now, this is the closest he's been in a couple of laps. Potentially get something happening and something done. Now, proper 6-car battle. 4th through 9th with Euphoria, Dream Spirits, GT Ross Centre Pro, Dream Factory, TM Martin Esports number 51, and Wave Driving Revolution. The cars in this battle. A little bit of a gap back to that second train behind the Glacier North cars at the front. About 4 seconds separating the front 3 cars. To be able to get a better drive this time, really be able to get a bit more momentum down the front straight and get a move done. It's going to move over, not quite close enough in defending the Salvatellans. I don't know if that's a smart move because they are losing quite a bit of ground. If defending this early in the race from someone who looks like they've got a lot more pace is the smartest move, but of course lots to play for, and every position is key. With 26 pro licenses up for grabs. As we said before too, a few teams not turning up tonight, not here tonight, because they have fairly much secured their spot in Pro Series for 2018, and some other teams that were probably very rank outsiders on potentially getting those spots decided not to race this week as well because of the Daytona 24, which starts in only 4 hours time. Oh, big mistake, Alex Arana. Alex Q in the Dream Factory car, not quite close enough to take advantage of that. So if we can get a CPR replay, because we were on board and it's a big lock-up and missed the apex by quite a long way with Alex Arana in the GT Ross Centre Pro car. I actually had 2 wheels off in the dirt on the outside and did a good job to regather that and not loop it around, as we're seeing side by side on the timesheets. And Sotomuto has finally got the move done. Or has he? He has. Oh, Zenith High Speed around, facing the wrong direction. Try and get a couple of CPR replays of this, because these are 2 race-changing situations. We'll firstly look at Zenith High Speed. Actually, contact between them and 3 car of SRB Racing. Just lost a little bit of control there. What was that incident? But this is the pass for Sotomuto. Just held the outside line through turn 1 and was then able to hold it on the inside, and has taken 4th position away, but already he's pulled a fairly decent gap over Salva Talons since taking that position. Talons is under attack from Alex Arana now. Will Talons be able to get something happening here? Now that Muto's through, will he be able to stick with him, or will Muto pull away? Start to close that gap. It's 5.5 seconds ahead of Muto to the next car up the road in the Sim Racing team. Alex Arana, a little bit of damage to the front of his car too from something in the first couple of laps. Oh, and almost contact again. Ran very, very deep. Now shuffling for position back in the field. Revolution Racing Team 29 car. Melbourne at the wheel side by side with the Rinken Racing R2P car, and they've now got almost looking up the inside of this Pure Racing Team yellow car. Stick with this for a moment because Boa is ahead for now, but the pressure behind Sergio Jr. Like anything will change in that group for the moment. Go back up to that battle, 5th and 6th now. And Euphoria Racing, GT Ross and Dream Factory right in behind as well. So Dream Factory potentially wants to watch here. And Talons is stuck with Sotomuto. They've both done identical lap times that lap around 152 flat. Race leader though, the Odox Motorsport car in the lead. Half a second quicker. North still maintaining that 10th position over Paraguay Racing. Just in behind them too is Esther Racing Ferrari, one of the fan favourite cars, one of the most heavily supported cars that we've had in our broadcast throughout this series. In the previous 5 rounds of this series, this car has had a bit of bad luck, but also had some good fortune as well, and been fighting a very tough car in this field and done a pretty good job of it as well. So basically North Esther Racing Team, 2 cars that have done a phenomenal job in cars that really shouldn't be as competitive as what these guys have made it. back in the field. This is 21st, 22nd. Fairmont Esports Mercedes gets through on the Black Star Racing McLaren. It's not over at the moment. Black Star not quite able to get up the inside. Ericsson thought about sending it up the inside, wasn't quite able to do it. Back up the field a little bit more. Dream Factory has dropped a tiny little bit behind the GT Ross Center Pro car, but Alvaro Romero in the TR Martin Esports number 51 car is applying a lot of pressure to the back of that Dream Factory car now, and Dream Factory looks a little bit uneasy on the rear tyres at the moment. It's on again between Euphoria and GT Ross Center Pro cars, so Talons really be able to hold on from Alex Arana. Looks a little bit more racy, a little bit more pacey. And Talons has been able to stick to the rear of Muto. See a huge amount of dust already on the track. They've broken away from the Dream Factory car, who's, as I said, struggling with rear grip. And Romero possibly will be able to get a move done, maybe into turn one this time around. Q under a lot of pressure now from Alvaro Romero. Alessandro Bachaliga in the Wave Driving Revolution car is just there as well, ready to make a move as Termine Esports 65 car loses that spot back to the Black Star Racing and now cuts the corner, turn two, losing a lot of time. If we can work out what's happening, they're actually stopping, they're out of the race. I think they may have got a slowdown penalty at the chicane. Covered a little bit too aggressively. If we can work out what's happened to it, but they've dropped all the way back to 31st. They're still going. I thought they'd escaped and got out of the race, but they had to stop to clear that slowdown penalty. Slowed down on the front straight? No? Not sure what happened there. Very strange one. Now they've stopped again. Looks like they may be out of the race this time. Actually, there might be some sort of tech issue for that car because that's strange. Like a broken accelerator or something, because it seems weird how the car stopped and then stopped again. So unfortunate for that car, they are now in the pits, potentially out of this race. We go back to the front of the field. Jose Cecilia out now, 3.2 second gap has Cecilia got over the Orion race team car number 9, and 3 seconds further back is the Sim Racing team car. These guys are the only cars in the mid 151s. Everyone else is in the high 151s and low to mid 152s. So fourth car, Soda Muto, not able to break away from Euphoria and GT Ross cars as I thought they may. Arana thought about throwing it up the inside, wasn't quite able to do it. Have a look at how much dirt and dust is getting thrown up on the track. We're already half an hour through this race as well, so we're halfway through this first phase of the race, and in the second phase, I think we'll start to see whether we can get a bit more racing happening, because a lot of guys are just tucking in behind, saving fuel now for a big run at the end. Of course, you can stick behind the car, maybe save 1 or 2 seconds worth of fuel. That's less time lost at the pit stop. Could shuffle you up the field and be a free pass, essentially. Rana may be able to get a move done. Not quite close enough yet, but can maintain this pace, maintain this draft, turn 1 this lap around. We could see a move happen. Very, very deep under brakes and run, almost into the rear of Savatalans. Alan's just holding on for now. But I don't think it'll be too long before we see Serrano get through here. Talons think about throwing it up the inside. Did think about it, but wasn't able to get on the brakes as late as he would have liked. Did compromise the run of the Euphoria racing car. He's now defending. It's a good battle between these guys. As we're through the halfway point of the first stage of this race, the first phase, which will be around about an hour. Most teams will break it up evenly into 1 hour blocks with their pit stops, but don't want to lose a lot of ground to the cars ahead as well. As well, something happened to Glacier North on that last lap. We'll try and pick up what's happened to that car, because it was in 10th position. It's now all the way back in 24th position, so there we go, we found the incident. Fortunately for Glacier North. It's a Nylander way back down the field. Was there a little bit of help there? There was. The Paraguay racing car actually made a little bit of contact into the rear of the Glacier North car. Glacier North have lost 14 spots from that. Just trying to get a bit of a run to potentially get a move at the next corner, and that's caused a fairly disastrous event for Glacier North, who are way back in the field now in 24th position, unfortunately for them. Sotomuto has now been able to pull a bit of a gap over the GT Ross Centre Pro car. He's actually got ahead of Salvatellans while we were watching that replay. So if we can pick up when that move happened. Actually, a little bit of contact between them in turn 1. Has just been able to get a better run out of turn 2, and over under, good classic racing move, and he's already starting to hunt down Sotomuto. He's 2 seconds up the road. We'll see if that gap can close up now that Alex Arana has a little bit of fresh air. Life Driving Revolution car looks like it's fairly racy in this pack too. It's now right on the tail of the Teo Martin Esports car. It was a little bit further back. He's just made a little bit of a mistake there and lost a fair bit of ground. And Paraguay Racing car behind. Now that they've now don't have the McLaren, the Glacier North McLaren ahead, been able to close a bit of that gap. The Esta Racing team is going with them, but have a look at this battle. This is 12th, 13th and 14th. Odok's car up the inside, move done on the Jim Racing Azuri car, the Zim Racing pink car in this battle, as well as SRB Racing. Very good little battle there. Euphoria now under attack from Dream Factory in Teo Martin Esports. Dream Factory probably not as close as they need to be for now, but Alex Q's looked fairly racy, but at the same time just making a couple of minor mistakes, and the rear looks like occasionally losing grip as well. So we'll see if Alex Q can close up to the rear of Salvatellans, but Celia out in front now, 4.3 second lead Murdoch's Motorsport car has for now. We approach first phase of pit stops. Berezzini in second in the Orion Race Team car. 4.3 seconds is the gap, another 3.6 behind. There's a Sim Racing Team car with Adria Perez at the wheel. But we've got a fairly big gap back from there to Sotomuto in the Dream Spirits Racing car. And it's Alex Serrana now in 5th position. Go back to that battle we were just watching before, Odox versus Jim Racing versus SRB Racing. This is 12th, 13th and 14th position. Further back in the field, Glacier North now back under pressure again from Pure Racing Team Yellow and Zenithai Speed. So two of these three cars in this battle, well actually all three of these cars have all been in incidents, been in issues in this early phase of the race, and are now trying to work their way forward. Zenithai Speed has already got a position on this lap for Sergio Jr. to get himself up one more spot. These three cars are the three that have all been involved in some sort of incident in this early phase of the race. There's a Red Face Racing 032 car having issues. The front of that thing is rather destroyed, and we'll see if we can pick up exactly what happened. That was the car that was directly ahead of Glacier North, and they've made contact with the wall. We go to a CPR replay. It's a little bit too much curb and oversteered through the second part of the chicane, and what about going on to the full Nords layout? Not optimal when you're running the GP circuit. And they rejoin in 30th position with a little bit of damage to the front. Back to 7th and 8th battle. Dream Factory now under pressure from Teo Martin Esports. Alex Q, Alvaro Romero. This is looking pretty racy right now. Romero looking a lot stronger. Rear of that Dream Factory car not looking too hot right now. just noticing another positional change too while we were watching those replays. The Ester Racing Ferrari has got ahead of the Paraguay Racing AV car, so we'll try and see if we can pick up a replay of that, because it's a pretty important move for the Ester Racing team car to get some fresh air and get out in front. And we'll have that now. So Corral has managed to get into the top 10 now. Actually looks like the Paraguay Racing car of Andrew Lawrence just let him through there. There's no fight at all, so that happened all too easy there. We go back to this battle, 7th and 8th. Dream Factory versus Teo Martin Esports. Euphoria Racing car just ahead. They're not out of this as well. They're still within reach. One tiny little mistake will result in these two cars and probably three, with Wave Driving not too far behind. Wave Driving Revolution not too far behind, so we'll see they can come on through as well. Vara Romero looks very, very racy. Let's have a little bit more pace. As I said, the rear of that Dream Factory car not looking too crash hot right now. Not too far off the pit window opening for the first time as well in this race. Teo Martin Esports car that we saw stop, they have decided to retire their car from the race. We've also got the GTL VRT red Audi in the pits as well. We'll see if we can pick up what's happened to them, because they've got a lot of damage to their car. We've seen the GTL VRT gold car has come into the pits as well, possibly for their first stop of the race. What's happened here to the GTL VRT red car. So there's actually been a bit of contact between these two Audis he has there. I'll stay with this and try and work out what's happened. Oh, that was a massive, massive hit. Looks like the 07 car there. DPR. I didn't quite realise. Oh, the GTL car didn't quite realise how much or how little overlap there was, and that was fairly heavy contact there. They are out of the race. Another GTL VRT car, the gold car, has come back out after serving their pit stop for around about 28 seconds. So fuel, no tyres, I'm guessing, there for those guys. .5 seconds is the lead at the moment. Euphoria Racing back under pressure from Dream Factory now. Like the Dream Factory car goes away in the rear for a couple of laps and the tyres cool off again. The car comes back to pace, and we'll see if Alex Q can get a move done while he's got this pace back again, because Selva Talons is now under a lot of pressure. And Romero also looks like he might potentially be able to get something happening here. Is he close enough? Will he be able to get a move done? It'll be tough to do it into the chicane. Almost need to get a run through the chicane and into the final corner, or get a run out of the final corner down the front straight. See if he is close enough here. May not be quite close enough. And Mr. Racing Ferrari car also starting to close up on the back of these guys too, so you need to be careful that they don't have an extra car come along and join this train. Been a very, very good battle so far, as I've just seen the Glacier North cars just lost another spot to Rincon Racing Mercedes. So they're back in to 25th position, up to 24th is the Rincon Racing car. Smilander, a very, very good first half of this stint, but the second half has gone very pear-shaped. Go back to that battle that we have been watching for the last little while. The Paraguay racing car actually looks like it's got a little bit of damage and starting to come under the clutches of the Odox Motorsport Samsung car, which we were watching that battle between those guys and the two Jim Racing cars about 20 odd minutes ago. So it's a little bit of a battle starting to form there as well. So we've got three really big battle packs starting to form in this race, but the most crucial one is this battle 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th. Romero thinks about making a move, wasn't quite able to do it. Wasn't quite close enough. In the lane comes the SRB Racing Mercedes, the number 3 car. They are in to make their stop. Cesar Frona comes in, stops on the marks. Driver swap in that car as well, potentially. Keep an eye on that. We've pitted from 14th position. We focus on this battle 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th. Been a really good battle for the last, pretty much the whole race actually. This battle has been going on. So Euphoria versus Dream Factory versus Teo Martin Esports versus Wave Driving Revolution, and not too far behind is that Ferrari, that all-white Ferrari, the Ester Racing Team Ferrari, who for the races that they've beat in this series have had a little bit of bad luck, as Dream Factory now looks up the inside. Sorry, Teo Martin Esports up the inside, move done, finally, on Dream Factory. A quick replay thanks to CPR Kart and Sim Parts. And classic move up the inside. Wasn't fought overly hard from Dream Factory car. Now will Romero be able to get talents? The driver swapping in the number 3 car. The SRB Racing car has swapped out, and into the car comes Ayrton Mayer. Wave Driving Revolution looks like they now starting to put some pressure on Dream Factory. Alex Q, as I said, the rear of that car not looking too great, not looking too stable. be able to do something, really be able to get a move done. Really just stick in behind, save a bit more fuel. Try and push on for that second seat. We know the BMW smaller fuel tanks, so they do have the advantage at the pit stops. And you can see the Wave Driving Revolution car jump these two cars ahead and have a look. The four-wheel car now starting to break away from these guys. After that move happened between Teo Martin Esports and Dream Factory, between Romero and Q, Tava Talons has broken away again. They're very aggressive coming out of turn one to get back onto the racing line. Ran a little bit wide out of one. Now, defending from Alex Q, who again, as I said before, the car goes and comes back again in different phases. Every few minutes it changes its behaviour once again. It's looking racy again. In front, Lodox Motorsport car 28 now starting to come up to traffic at the rear of the field. Car ahead is the number 3 car that has made their pit stops, the SRB Racing entry. They get let through fairly easily in the end there. The Orion Race Team Bez car, second position. We're now 6 seconds back from the Odox car. Tin Racing Team in third. And Dream Spirits now. We've got 9 seconds to the Sin Racing Team ahead, but 2.5 seconds back is the GT Ross Centre Pro car. Then we've got that battle that we've been watching for the last little while. Have a look just behind the Wave Driving Revolution car. That white Ferrari is well and truly within striking distance now. Approach the 1 hour mark. We're now 55 minutes into this race. Packed behind Paraguay Racing, they're starting to look quite racy as well with Odox and the gym cars not too far behind. So Paraguay Racing, since they let the Ferrari through, the Esther Racing Ferrari, now just thinking as well, that damage that we are seeing on the front of that car, probably from the incident between them and Glacier North a little while ago. Battle back in the field. Go to before we get into the first phase of pit stops. We've got the Rincon Racing R2P car, the number 13 and Team Bushfink Racing pink car. These guys 23rd and 24th, but Team Bushfink Racing car had pretty good pace in the last couple of laps. So don't be surprised to see a move happen on this lap. They just make a little bit of a mistake. Fastest car on track is our race leader, the Odox Motorsport car, but surprisingly the second fastest car on track is the Zenith High Speed car, the 999 car, which we've seen in a few issues themselves. So good to see them starting to move up through the field as we've finally, you can call off the police search. Reese Gardner, good evening, my friend.
I'm officially the worst commentator in sim racing, Jay. I'm very sorry.
That's okay, mate. It's been an interesting first hour. But you're going to join us just before the first phase of pit stops, and it's going to get juicy.
Interesting. I can't wait for my my game to actually load so I can see what's going on.
You'll be pleased to know the Esther Racing Ferrari back out on track this week and going along quite well. They're in 10th and have pretty good pace. They're starting to close up onto the back of the battle pack ahead, which Wave Driving Revolution BMW looks very, very pacey as well. So we might see a few shuffling positions and shuffling of order once we come into pit stops, as we pretty much hit 2 hours to go now.
Excellent stuff, and you know that I'm a fan of the Esther Racing Ferrari, Jay, and I think
we all are.
Yeah, I think we're all fans of the Esther Ferrari. Just the fact that they've been able to stick it out in that car, especially with the way the balance of performance has affected it, it's I think it's really brought those guys up in a lot of people's books. So especially around a track like the Nurburgring, which is full of these mid-speed corners that the Mercedes, I think, excels at, and the BMW especially is really good with. So to see that Ferrari up there once again is actually really, really good. Vedran Corral doing a fantastic job.
Yep, the other fan favourite car, the Glacier North McLaren, they were doing quite well. They were in 10th, but they've dropped back. They unfortunately had an incident with the Paraguay Racing Mercedes about 20 minutes ago, so they've dropped back now to 26, but good to see those guys still pushing on as well. Two cars that we were surprised to see still fighting it out in those cars, and they're doing quite well.
Yeah, certainly, and I think it's been something that we've been saying almost from the start of the season. The balance of performance has really put a few of these cars at a distinct disadvantage, and it really takes a special kind of driver to wrestle those cars up there, especially if you're talking about the McLaren. And Glacier North and Black Star Racing have been sticking it out and doing a fantastic job. Glacier North, I'm just noticing, in 26th position, but they're facing a little bit of pressure in the background from Bo Albert and Bruno Fontalba, Redface Racing and Evolution Racing Team. This battle could get spicy.
Good, and the Evolution Racing Team cars, that the one that Bo Albert's driving, the 29 and the 32 car, those guys struggling a little bit. The ART cars haven't looked anywhere near as strong. They're very, very strong in the very first 10 minutes, and then after that they've just dropped and dropped and dropped back in the field. So yeah, the ART car's probably not as dialed in as we would expect those guys to be, but the 29 car pretty much already sealed their position over the rest of the field, over the Pro Series, I should say, but a few of the other cars still a fair bit to go as we're starting to see the pit lane light up.
Yes, indeed. So as everyone goes by on the start-finish straight, we got the MS5000 car of Jari Lotari pulling into his pit box now from position number 21. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with these guys coming in on lap 33, basically on the hour.
It's just ticked over, so it's pretty much as expected. Everyone's cutting it up evenly.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you at this stage? It's a simple 3-hour race in cars that can easily make the hour on fuel, so it's a bit of a no-brainer in terms of strategy.
Yeah, if you can make the hour on fuel, you just break it up evenly. And just wanted to have a little bit of a laugh race now. You know, my team that I drive for, I'm going to put my team driver hat on for a minute, talking. Probably one of the most casual sim racing teams you'd ever see. I made a statement earlier in the week that Torque would decide to drive the Daytona 24 around about 90 minutes before the race, so about 10:30 tonight my time. I was actually out by 90 minutes. We've just decided now that the Torque Inc. car is going to make an entry. So how's that for a late effort?
That is fantastic, and I wish you guys all the best.
I'm not driving.
Okay.
But believe it or not, they're going to do practice, so something's wrong.
What?
Yes, it's just seeing the number 14 he's compelled car off the track. But yeah, believe it or not, anyone that does see Torque Inc. in a practice session, it's not a drill, it's not a joke. They're actually going to have a crack. So see how they go. It's going to be 3 of them driving and see how they go. But I might have a drive at 10 o'clock tomorrow night.
Excellent stuff. Well, hopefully we see you out there, Jay, at some point. I'm definitely going to be out there. I'll be taking the early morning stint for Fusion Sim Racing, and then I'll be taking it to the finish as well tomorrow night.
Yeah, in one way you're in an advantage and a real disadvantage in your time zone. You can start the race and it not be too late, whereas for my time zone here in Eastern Victoria, it starts at 12:30 Sunday morning for us and finishes obviously 12:30 Monday morning. But it's a little bit tougher to want to start the race. You don't really want to do those first few hours. You'd much prefer to do the daylight stints and go through to the night than do the start. So you're a bit more of an advantage. You probably prefer to do those early stints.
Yeah, I suppose so. It means that I can drive until 4 in the morning Perth time and hand over to my mates over in the east at 7 a.m. their time, which is a bit more of a reasonable time for them to be waking up. So yeah, works out pretty well having teammates all across the continent.
So we see the Orion race team BMW into the lane from second position.
And a little bit of an update on the MS 5000 car. They come out in 36th position after their pit stop. So Fulvio Barazzini brings the Orion.
You say that
team
so much better than I do. That's why I'm glad you're back, mate. I'm glad you're here. I've been butchering names for the last little while, and it'd be nice to actually have someone try and do them properly.
Okay, well, if you ever need any help, just give me a holler. I'm having a look out on track at the moment. Looks like, I don't know if you've already covered this in the race beforehand, Jay, but I'm noticing that the Dream Spirits Racing and GT Ross Centre Pro cars look rather close. And they're very close in lap times as well, actually. I've just noticed their last laps are only 0.005 of a second apart.
Yeah, well, ever since Alex Serrano was able to get past Salvatellans, who's actually under pressure in the Euphoria Racing car, those guys have been separated by around about 2 to 2.5 seconds, but that has closed now to just over 1. So Alex Serrano looking a little bit more pacey in the GT Ross Centre Pro car, and Euphoria Racing car under a lot of pressure from Teo Martin Esports, Alvaro Romero at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. Oh, have a look at that. Alvaro going off into the gravel, and there's already a bit of a sandpit forming in the centre of the tarmac of that corner as people have been really pushing the limits of the track and the curves at that section. But as they negotiate this chicane for the 35th time, I'll tell you what, Alvaro Romero might be facing a bit of pressure from Alex Q here.
Yeah, that Dream Factory car, I've mentioned it a couple of times. The rear of that car looks a little bit more unstable than the other Mercedes in this pack, but it sort of comes and goes. It looks really pacey for 2 or 3 laps, and then the rear of it absolutely is destroyed. Has to drop the pace for a couple of laps, and then it comes back once again. As seeing about 4 or 5 cars into the pits, even more actually. Oh, the 13 car, Sergio Jr. around, facing the wrong direction. The Team Bushfit racing the 74 car. Those guys were together and they're both going slow, so I'm guessing an incident between those 2 cars. It's NPR replay on screen.
This. Oh, actually, it looks like... Was there contact there? Yes, there was. Seems to me as though... Yeah, Junior went to try and go into the pits, and Goodway just kept accelerating out of the corner. I suppose, to be fair to Goodway, Junior did start braking for the pits a little bit earlier than most would, but nonetheless, that's an unfortunate incident that happened between those two guys there.
They had been racing hard for the last little while, and yeah, you can see there's a bit of a tap on the brake at the apex of the second part of the chicane, and probably not really anywhere for a good way to go there. If he got on the brakes, he probably would have looped it around anyway. So actually see our race leader coming into the pits, the Odox Motorsport car.
Yep.
Led every lap of this race so far. So Cecilia absolutely blitzing the field. The only driver to do a 1 minute 50 lap time as well. So he's flying at the moment, and we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, as they come into the pits, their sister car has just come out ahead of Glacier North. The Odox Motorsport Samsung number 14 car, Andrew Rodriguez at the wheel of that one, coming out just ahead of JJ Nylander, and I believe that Nylander is a lap down on Rodriguez.
No, they're on the same lap.
No? Okay.
Yep, so Glacier North pitted a couple of laps earlier. Actually, they're coming out of the pits together.
Jay, sorry to interrupt. I've just switched to the Euphoria Racing Ringball Sing car. Salva Talens overshot the box. He had to reverse back in, and he's bringing. He's brought the car back into the hands of Agustin Canapino. So with that little bit of extra time lost, Canapino is going to find himself at the back of that pack that car number 86 was in. So he's going to have a little bit more of his work cut out for him.
Interesting to see as well if anyone decides to not take tyres at this stop. At the moment, Dream Factory now leads this race from Paragon Racing AV, who a little bit damaged at the front of that car. Of course, with that issue they had, that incident they had with the Glacier North car. The Jim Racing Azuri car, another car that looks very destroyed at the front. They are still pushing on. And out of the pits comes Odox Motorsport car.
Yes. And
biggest mover is the Team Huskenfeld number 4 car. They have definitely taken no tyres. They've come all the way up. They are now in second position and only 2.5 seconds behind the Odox car.
That is an excellent jump from Team Huskenfeld there. Michael Schottler jumping into that car, taking over from Jan Sentkowski. So now Schottler getting in there with worn tyres. I don't know how much practice he's done on worn tyres in this car, so he's got a bit to get used to here.
Actually, looking at the times, there's actually quite a few teams that have decided to not take tyres.
Interesting call.
Big call, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 6 or 7 cars out on track that did not take tyres at that stop. It's a little bit surprising.
Yeah, I'm wondering if all the other teams who took tyres are looking at that and thinking, oh, maybe we should
they might do the opposite the next stop.
Yeah, they'll go for the mirrors strategy. Well, we'll see what happens.
Just watching Glacier North and Evolution Racing Team battle side by side for a moment. Then Nylander has to check up to the Evolution Racing Team car. They're going through. And Glacier North actually also check up for the Amos 5000 car as well, as every car that hadn't pitted has now come into the pits. Field is cleansed, our favourite say.
Yes, indeed. Cleansed for the first time, and then we'll wait for the next round of pit stops to see how everyone shuffles around there. But out of all of that, Dream Factory, who was leading the race before they came into the pits, has just exited. It's now turn 1.
And they've got a fairly big gap ahead of the Euphoria Racing Team car and the Dream Spirits car. Dream Spirits has been the biggest loser out of the pit stops. Tsutomuto was in 4th. He's now back in 9th.
Must
and that
not
GT
have been a very good pit stop for those guys.
No, and the GT Ross Center Pro car is right behind them. We saw that they were closing up to the rear of the Dream Spirits car. We saw that gap starting to close just before the pit stops. And that is not closing at all now, it's closed.
Yeah, it certainly is. So this is the point where Alex Arana is going to have to really put the hammer down, see if he can try and get past Sotomuto, because have a look a bit further behind them. You've got the Esta Ferrari, and you've got the SRB racing car of Aratan Meyer behind them. And we've seen Aratan's drives in this series recently. He's a very good steerer, don't underestimate it. So I can't wait to see how this one turns out. This could be a 4-car battle pack soon.
Yeah, while we have a tiny little moment, I just want to do a quick shout out to someone who featured in a lot of our broadcasts back in the day. We used to make a lot of jokes about Lee Ellis and having to propose to his girlfriend when he finally won a race. Big congratulations to Lee and his now wife, Lucy, on their marriage yesterday. So congratulations, Lee, on finally doing the job to Lucy and putting a ring on it. So congratulations, guys, from all of us here at V8 We used to make a lot of jokes about that back in the day, but obviously they paid off because he actually did it after he won a Monday night race.
Excellent stuff. Well, he's a man that keeps his promises. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Ellis.
I think it's 3rd and 4th on track. We've got the Team Chimera race, the Team Chimera car in 3rd. They did not take tyres at the stop. 41-second stop, so definitely no tyres for those guys. And just behind the Sim Racing team car, those guys were in 3rd position. Just looking as well, where has the Ryan Race team car? They were in 2nd. They're out of the race.
Oh no!
They've dropped out of the race at their pit stop. They decided to leave the car at their pit stop. That's surprising.
Wow. Okay. That's very odd. I'm just going to double check that pit stop there, and oh well, Matthias Egger did get into the car, Jay.
Okay.
Matthias Egger got into the car, and then the car is just sitting still and continuing to fast forward. He actually jumped out. He got onto the track, Jay. So the Ryan Race team car, I'm just fast forwarding through their outlap. I'm going to see what went on here.
Maybe decided that they didn't need to do any more and getting ready for the Daytona 24. Possibly have already thought, well, we've qualified. Let's get our 4th driver in to get their lap completed. To see a move done. Is this going to be complete? It is. Sim Racing team 444 car now jumps back into 3rd position as they were before the stops, but the car ahead is not the Orion car anymore. There's a Team Huskenfeld BGT car, which definitely did not take tyres. Only a 30-second stop for those guys, so they are on a complete alternate strategy to the rest of the field. We'll see if that works out for them.
Yeah, certainly. Bit of an update on the Orion Race team car. It seems that Egger's received throughput fell to an unacceptable level, so might be a disconnection. Either that or a hardware issue, a crash, perhaps.
Possibly.
Or even just, well, that is very strange because it wouldn't have been a full lap that he had completed. He actually disappeared before he crossed the start-finish line. So, that's odd. Anyway, we do still have a race on, and it looks to me like the Sin Racing Team Pulpareja car has gotten past Team Chimera in.
Yeah, we saw that into turn 1 on this lap.
Yes, we did. I was looking at something different.
You were watching something else? No, that's okay. Yes, you were looking back to see what was happening to the Orion car, and I appreciate that.
At least we know we're both on the same page now, right?
That's good.
So, checking through the field. Looks like, oh, we got a move on here at the chicane. The Amos 5000 car just got past Gym Racing Pink.
And Gym Racing Pink car under pressure from the Evolution Racing Team car just in behind.
Yep, Jakub Brzezinski. He's got that that throttling down pat, and it seems like, here we go, Andy Gorton trying to go defensive, but Jakub Brzezinski going to the inside regardless, and he's going to have the inside line for the hairpin. Is he going to be able to hold it? Looks like he is. Just is able to get the power down nicely, and he's through into 20th position. So Jari Lotari was a 10th quicker than Brzezinski on that last lap, so actually having a look, and Amos 5000 car is catching up rapidly to the Paraguay Racing AB Mercedes just ahead. It's quite interesting. I think they might have made a couple of mistakes in those last few corners. Yeah, actually, have a look.
He's right there, isn't he?
Yeah. Catching up at a rate of knots here. Might we see a move coming into this section? Jari Lotari is having a look, and yeah, he's going to go through. So that Amos 5000 car with some stonking pace at it. Next up on their target list is the Black Star Racing McLaren. They were a second faster last lap.
Another battle that's on now. Sotomuto under pressure now from Alex Arana. Arana looked really good at the back end of that first stint and is applying a lot of pressure back into the top 10. These guys were 4th and 5th before the stops. They'll be not enjoying looking at their positions, seeing them now in 9th and 10th.
Yeah, certainly not. And, oh, the Esther Racing Ferrari just going off in the background there. He's going to have to slot back in, let Aratan Meyer by. So that's brought him out of contention for that battle. But, yeah, Alex Arana's just keeping up that consistent pressure on Sotomuto. And running just a little bit wide in a few corners, but I interpret that more as just having a look at Muto's lines and seeing where he can put a move on him. Have a look at how much Arana dives into the southern hairpin.
And this section of the track's where Arana's looked strongest too, so we could see something happen here. The section after the chicane and into turn 1, he hasn't looked as strong. But around the back end of the circuit, he's looked pretty good.
Yeah, you can definitely see he's got his lines in this section of the track down pat, and so much so that it seems Aratan Meyer is not able to catch up to them as I predicted he would. Have a look down the straight here. Little bit of a hint of a slipstream. Now to the final corner of the track. Muto just took a little bit of a later apex line. And yeah, there you go. You can see Muto was just able to get a bit better traction out of that last turn. So now Arana having another tiny look under brakes just to see where Muto's going. And wow, almost running into the back of him. Just able to pull that Mercedes up. Once again, especially out of turn 2, if you saw that, Muto just took a more direct exit line. I think that's how he's able to stay in front of Arana in that section of the track.
Yeah, just the different line. It's not actual pace, it's just that different line, isn't it? That's all it is that he's able to get. And he's able to just get that little bit of a gap there. And now from here up to that chicane, Arana looks stronger.
Yeah, so maybe that's also a slight difference in setup as well. Maybe Dream Spirits Racing has set up their car more for the slow Sector 1 and are just able to cover off Arana in this back section of the circuit.
It's going to go away from this battle and go to a battle just up ahead. Team Chimera car under pressure once again, this time from Zenith High Speed. Now, they've come back through the field after an issue early in the race. They were way back into the 30-odd positions. They're now up to 5th.
Excellent job from Zenith High Speed to get back up there. Of course, did the Team Chimera car take tyres?
Neither of these two cars took tyres, so...
Right, well,
this is
looks
surprising.
Like the
The
Zenith High
pace.
Speed car is really coping with it.
Oh!
But no, there's been a touch, and Ben Tusting has been turned around in the final corner. Well, that's a bit of a shame.
That ended what was going to be a pretty spicy battle, didn't it?
Yeah, looked to me like Tusting tried to cover off Ricardo Ferreira, but I think it even looked a little bit net-cody from my perspective. Yeah, the cars didn't touch.
On board here with a CPR replay.
Yeah, it looks like there was about, I'd estimate...
Decent a gap, wasn't there?
Yeah, I'd estimate about a 30, 50 centimetre gap.
I'm wondering if he's just run it wide and tried to overcompensate and put the power down a little bit too early and just lost traction, which you can do quite easily when you're not on your preferred line with the car up the inside. You can try and defend it a little bit too aggressively and potentially lose a spot. As we're watching Austin Canapino applying a lot of pressure to the GTL VRT cold car. Now, the number 7 car, the GTL VRT car of Shuttleback, has not taken tyres. The Euphoria car has taken tyres. We're going to see the real tyre battle right now.
We certainly are, and Agustin Canapino, as we've seen in past rounds, is a force to be reckoned with. He's a real-life racer. Races in National Series down in South America. So he's definitely got the skills, and he's got the tyre life as well. You can see he's really pressuring the back of Adam Sibilak now. Look at how much he caught up through the chicane. Well, he was thinking about going for a move. He's still thinking about going for a move in the final corner, just able to take that tighter line. But he's not able to get the power down efficiently because there's a car in the way. Let's see how he goes down into turn 1 here. Sibilak will have to brake a tiny bit earlier on those worn tyres, and Canapino, using the anti-lock brakes to his advantage, just goes through on the inside of turn 1. And now Sibilak will be falling into the clutches of Sotomuto anytime soon.
And we know Muto's got pace because we saw that first stint after he got clean air. He punched in some amazing lap times. Speaking of amazing lap times,
Sibilak is struggling.
Yeah, he is struggling. The lap time last lap around from the Odox car in front, 151.5. They are still the fastest car on track by a decent margin. The next closest car is about 4/10 off the pace.
That is some crazy pace from Odox. They've definitely come to this race prepared, haven't they?
They have, and I think it's starting to show a lot of teams have switched focus this week. A lot of teams not focusing fully on this race this weekend. Of course, with Daytona 24 on at the same time, so there was contact there between Muto and Saddleback.
Yeah, well, Sibilak's pace backed Muto up into Arana a little bit there, so this is a proper 3-car battle, and Arana is the fastest of all of these 3. Meanwhile, continuing to loom in the background, Aratan Meyer. He might get a chance here if Sibilak holds these guys up.
Judging by the way that it's panning out at the moment, he is going to hold them up because those old tyres, I mean, if you're on that no tyre strategy on that first stop, you don't want to lose too many spots. You don't want to give up easy spots to other guys. You want to make sure that you can maintain your pace and use that strategy to your advantage. You don't want to just let guys through. You want to actually work hard for these positions and make the guys behind you chew up their tyres, burn them up, and fight hard for these positions, as Muto will likely get through up the inside. No, won't be able to.
Have a look at Arana, though. He had to go to the outside there, just fitting his car into that little bit of space. And I love the dynamic of these 3-car battles, especially the bottom two positions in the battle, because not only are you thinking about battling the guy ahead of you, you're also battling the car ahead of the guy ahead of you. And Muto is having another look at Sibilak here. He's going to go through the left-hand sweeper. Sibilak might go defensive here. He's still got the inside line, almost touching. Had to back out of the throttle there did Sibilak. And now Arana is going to go through. But is Sibilak going to try and defend under brakes? No, he slots in. And that's two positions down for Adam Sibilak. Muto and Arana are racing on, but now Aratan Meyer has got a bit of a sniff of this battle. Sibilak flashes his lights, obviously displeased with something or other that's happened in those last few corners, but this is significant for Meyer because he's now got a car to slipstream down the straights.
Another battle of the no tyres versus tyres game. 4th and 5th on track. Zenith High Speed versus Dream Factory. Dream Factory looking pretty pacey. Zenith High Speed losing a fair bit of ground to the rest of the field around, and Alex Q looks like he might be able to get a move done in the next little while.
Yeah, we talk about the differences between these cars quite a bit, and we pointed out as here we go. The Dream Factory car is probably going to go for a move here. Look at the speed difference between the Merc and the BMW. The BMW has the corners advantage by far in this field, but when you put worn tyres on it, it becomes a bit more vulnerable. We just saw that in action there. Meanwhile, behind them, Arana and Muto are still battling really hard here.
They actually changed positions on the timing. I just saw it flash up on my timing screen that they changed positions and changed back again. So they had officially changed spots, and just behind as well, Aratan Meyer looks like he might be able to get a move done too. So we've got some really intense battles going on track at the moment, and that's just in the top 10.
Yeah, certainly. Saw how Meyer lunged under brakes there. Just avoided going to the rear of Adam Sibilak. And yeah, of course, these battles are fantastic, and you always see them in this middle stage of the race, just after the first pit stops. Everyone's trying to get used to their cars again after taking a little 30-second break from driving, or getting used to their cars after getting into them for the first time during the race, and you see all of these battles eventuate as a result of that. It's fantastic to see.
And the other thing too is some of these cars in these battles also had a little bit of damage. So there's guys jumping in with fresh tyres, not quite knowing what the car's going to do once they jump in. They're behaving differently to everything they've done in testing. So just going to go back to that Euphoria Zenith battle. There's an extra car getting in on this now. Euphoria racing car. Yeah. Canapino's right there.
He certainly is, and he too is on fresh tyres. So Ricardo Ferreira is in big trouble here. Let's have a look at how they go down the straight. The Mercedes will have the draft, and you see already the power advantage coming into play. Canapino blasts by down the straight, and he's ahead even a little bit before the braking zone for turn 1. That was a pretty easy move to make. Oh, have a look, Meyer on the inside of Sibilak. He's going to go through. He hasn't gained much time to Muto and Arana, though. Esther
just got through as well. So just seen two moves at the same corner, back to back, and almost a third with, well, actually we saw 3 moves because we saw Canapino, Meyer, and now Vedran Kral through Iniesta Ferrari.
Yes, and Andrew Rodriguez just got by Ben Tusting for Team Chimera into turn 3, so that's another position change there.
Battle for 2nd and 3rd is on now too. Battles going on everywhere, and again, this is the little bit different battle. This is the BMW with fresh tyres and full tank of fuel versus the Mercedes with old tyres. So this is a little bit of a different battle than what we've been seeing, and it'll be interesting to see how the BMW can get past with its inferior pace. They're going to go side by side through the kink. Oh.
He's not going to be on the right side of the circuit.
This isn't going to work.
Though. Actually, well, it will work if the guy decides to yield.
Yep.
I think that was pretty smart driving there from Michael Schottler. He recognised that there was probably no point to trying to fight that into the chicane. Preserving overall time is a lot better at this stage in the race. So Adria Perez goes on by.
Euphoria versus Dream Factory is looking pretty racy too, 4th and 5th.
Wow, yeah.
Euphoria car, the car in Canapino, he was 6/10 quicker last lap around. Fastest car on track is the number 86 Euphoria racing car.
Yeah, so Canapino using the fresh tyres of that Mercedes to their full potential. And Alex Q will be looking at his mirrors and thinking, gee, that car is getting a little bit bigger every single corner. Excellent driving from these guys so far in this stint. Having a look at Canapino, every single braking zone you can see he's just lining up the car for that optimum exit, using all the road, then some, and then a little bit of the gravel as well. He's just continually chipping away bit by bit at this gap between himself and Alex Q.
Alex Arano and Sotomuto got close again too, so the two battles really juicy at the moment. I don't know which one to watch.
¿Por qué no los dos? You haven't seen the old El Paso ad, Jay?
No, mate.
Why not both?
Why not both? Yep, alright,
Spanish.
I'm with you.
Any Spanish speakers in the audience, shout out to you.
As you can tell, I'm not one of them.
Canapino looks like he might go for the move. No, he's going to hold off into the chicane. He had to lift off for quite some time there. He had a huge run on Alex Q, and he has a huge run on him once again.
Oh.
Q goes wide in the final turn, and Canapino's just going to go right on through.
That would have been a lot easier than Canapino would have been expecting. I think he would have been thinking he was going to be in for a bit tougher fight, but Alex Q tucks in behind, and he'll live to fight another day as the Esther racing car is around at the final corner.
Oh no. What's going on there?
CPR replay, and we'll see if we can pick it up.
Rear end contact. No, no. Actually, Vedran lost it on his own. Looks like he just turned in a little too late and was caught on the edge of the racing line on those marbles, and around he went.
It was a
Number
very,
14
very
car.
slow spin, and car behind the Odox car. Did they make contact into the rear when
Yeah.
it was already around?
Yes. Looks like Andrew Rodriguez, he tried to take avoiding action, but unfortunately, Odox number 14 now has front right damage as a result of that. Both cars are still going.
That's the one positive. Probably didn't really know which way to go there because
Yeah.
the slowness of that slide, probably thought that that Kral would have been able to catch that. It almost looked like he had, and then all of a sudden, like he got into the throttle a little bit too much, and traction control didn't quite kick in as it's expected, and it just kept going around. We go back to 7th and 8th.
Yes, indeed. And that is one thing that, that you have to consider with these cars. Of course, to the uneducated racer, the presence of traction control and ABS may seem like an aid, but oftentimes when you get into a tricky situation, sometimes it's better to not have those aids on the car.
You almost want the, you don't want traction control in that situation. You want to be able to put the power down and get a slide happening so that you can regain traction of the car, but you just like it forces the car to not lose traction so that it will continue that slide and kept it going. Then it's probably the best way to describe how it works. It's like you see in the V8 when we broadcast the V8 events, you see them get into a big slide, they put the power on, slide through the corner, and then they continue on. They might have destroyed tyres, but they can continue on in the right direction. But that there is the downfall of traction control right there.
Yeah, certainly. It only really helps when you're on a stable exit. Once you actually get into a bit of a whoopsie, it doesn't do much to save you. Sotomoto and Alex Arana, meanwhile, as we're seeing on the screen, throwing up lots of debris coming out of that turn, strewn across the track.
They're just about to catch up to the rear of Ricardo Ferreira in the Zenith High Speed 999. And that BMW, we've seen him dropping back through the field, but they got a good bit of strategy play, no tyres obviously. They jumped from 35th at one point. They're now back, were in 5th, they're back into 6th now, but they're plus 15 on their starting spot. After starting well, moving forward and getting involved in a little bit of an incident in the first half hour.
Yes, indeed, and the main thought on my mind right now is Ferreira going to play the same role that Sibilak did a few laps ago? Possibly bring these cars even closer together, give Arana a bit of a chance at getting past Muto. Well, we'll find out when they come down to turn 1 here, because it looks to me like the Mercedes are a bit too far back to make the move on power alone.
Yeah, even with the draft, I don't think they're close enough. They'll stay in line for now, and that is going to make this a little bit more juicy for the back half of this lap. And we could almost see the SRB racing car close up in this lap.
Yes, indeed. Muto is having a look at Ferreira. He's already making his presence known. Have a look at the exit that these guys get. It's all pretty even amongst them, but Muto is continuing to have a look. He'll be looking at Ferreira in front of him, but he'll also be monitoring Arana behind. Because if Muto makes one wrong move, Arana will be right there to take advantage and take the position. Ferreira remaining in front. These cars are line astern coming into the southern hairpin. Arana taking a bit more of a direct line towards the hairpin, almost double apexing it. And now they come through to the back half of the circuit. This is where the BMW is the strongest. You can see Muto climbing all over the curbs in his pursuit. But it's once they come through this left-right combination and out onto the back stretch that the power of the Mercedes is made clear once again. They're all kicking up dust. Muto has another look, but he has to stay behind once again into the chicane. Big power advantage from the Mercs.
I thought he was going to be able to send it up the inside and wasn't quite able to. Arana's now looking the most likely here. Muto should get through just based on power, that little bit of draft as well, but gotta watch out for Arana, who potentially could make it 3 wide with the pace he's got here.
Yeah, certainly. Well, he's definitely going to try and go through on the inside, which he does. And so the battle restarts once again. These guys have been absolutely locked together this entire stint.
And they were pretty close before the pit stops as well. And in the first 20 minutes, they were nose to tail as well. So I'm just going to go back up the track to 3rd and 4th with the Team Huskenfeld car that we saw slowly starting to lose a couple of spots due to its strategy game, and tyres will be starting to go off. But they've done a really good job based on their pace. They're about 1.5 seconds off the pace of the lead car at the moment with the Odox Motorsport car last lap around a 151.3. Only 4 cars in the field doing 151s. They've done a 151.3, 151.7 for Perez and the Sim Racing Team 444. And then we've got the Wave Driving and Odox cars, the 10 and the 14, 12th and 13th position. They're the only other cars doing 1 minute 51s, and they're all high 51s. So Odox is in an absolute league of its own at the moment.
Yeah, they're basically doing what Core Sim Racing have been doing at most rounds of the season, just getting themselves in that right position, smashing out those good laps and maintaining that lead, really putting their mark on this race.
About to say we'll watch Dream Factory come through on the Team Huskenfeld car, but we'll go back to Dream Spirits versus GT Rossena Pro. As we've been watching all race, these two cars are going to be in a very close battle into turn 1 here.
Yes, indeed. It's actually, I think, a bit closer than I have seen in recent times, but Arana stays behind once again.
And Ferreira's actually sticking with them too.
Yeah, that's significant there. Looks like he's just been able to get into a good rhythm behind these Mercedes, catch a bit of draft from them when he can, So this is going to help out Zenith when it comes to the next round of pit stops. They'll have track position.
The Zenith car, very important for them to maintain that position, because we know the BMW smaller fuel tanks, a shorter pit stop time, they will jump these cars if they can stay in this gap. Maybe even if they drop behind the SRB car behind, if they can stay in that area, they are well and truly on for a very, very good finishing position.
Yes, indeed. Have a look at Alex Arana. Did you see how much he lunged under the brakes into the hairpin?
He really wants to get this move done.
Yeah, he's absolutely maximising that section of the circuit, because it's a very interesting corner, that southern hairpin, actually. There's multiple lines through it. You can take the conventional line, one apex, or you can hug the inside all the way around, but oftentimes what you see happening, and I know I've seen Michael Schumacher do it in real life in Formula 1 back in the day, just go super deep under brakes, run wide in the middle of the turn, and basically make it into a bit of a V shape, so that you get on the throttle nice and early and just launch yourself out of that corner and into the S's.
It's almost a go-kart style line. It's more go-kart worthy than traditional racing style. We see that in a lot of real life racing, where guys use more of the go-kart style line. I know Craig Lowndes is one that is very, very... Oh, you almost see a runner into the back of Muto. I thought they were going to make contact there. But Craig Lowndes is one that is known to be a little bit slower at the start of the corner, but get that shoot out of the corners. And a few others in supercars starting to do it as well. Chaz Mostert's probably one that does that line as well.
Yes, indeed, and I think there's a few corners actually at this Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit that lend themselves to that style of corner. The last corner as well, in particular. I think that's something that you see actually on a lot of circuits built in the 1980s. They have this flowing sort of style to them, bigger curves, but they really reward that the deep braking V-shaped line and late apex.
Well, they really do lead themselves to have a few differing lines that work. There's no absolute preferred line. There's multiple ones that will work and be around about the same pace, which is what you want in a racetrack. You want it to be interesting and not be the same for everyone. The tracks that you see one line the whole way around the track that don't have a huge amount of passing, they're the ones that we don't tend to enjoy the races at. But races or tracks like this one and Phillip Island's another one where there's a few different corners with a few different lines. It lends itself to a little bit more exciting racing, I think.
Yeah, it certainly does, and we're seeing that kind of exciting racing right now. You saw that late apex line right there. Alex Arana just took it, and they ended up getting past some lap traffic earlier on. Actually, they caught right up to the Team Hosingveld car. So
past it too.
Yeah. Have a look at this. Are they both going to do it in the one corner?
Oh.
Have a look at Arana. Oh, Arana. He's not going to get by. This is bad for Arana here. He's going to lose some ground. Muto will be absolutely loving this in his mirrors. Oh, and there you go. That's it.
That hurts. That hurts a lot for Alex Arana.
He was on the verge of getting that position, and then the Hosingveld car comes into the picture. Remember, that car is on old tyres. So, wow, big pace disadvantage. And now Sotomuto is going to have to maximise this opportunity. He's going to have to do some of the best driving he's ever done. Arana is now back by the Hosingveld machine, and he'll be resuming the chase, but he has got a lot of work to do.
What it's done as well, it's brought the Zenith and SRB cars behind, right up onto the tail of them as well. So it has helped the Zenith high-speed car, which we said really wants to stick onto the rear of that train. And they're going to be able to do that for a couple more laps, because that has brought them back into the fold of this battle pack.
Yes, indeed. So it's a little bit more strung out than it was before, but it's definitely looking like more of a singular battle pack than it was before.
First time in a long time in this race, I think only for 3 or 4 laps in this race, the Odox Motorsport car, not the fastest car on track. Last lap around a 151.4, but the Euphoria Racing car, well, they've just now lost that. They did a 151.43 versus 151.46. Last lap around, they've just done a 151.5, so back being the fastest car on track once again is Odox.
And I'm interested to see what the Euphoria Racing team can do in the face of this. Will they be able to catch up to Odox before the end of the race?
The other Odox car, the Samsung car, has just got through, sorry, Rex. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what they can do too now that they've got clean air. Canapino, we've seen him do a great job throughout this series. Now, see if he can gain a bit more ground. At the moment, 23 seconds to the race leader. It seems like a pretty big margin now. Will they be able to close that in?
Yeah, for sure. Well, did Odox take tyres at that pit stop?
Odox did take tyres. A 1:10 stop for Odox, a 1:02 stop for Euphoria, both on the same strategy.
Okay, so we can expect them to both forego tyres in this final pit stop. So it's actually an out-and-out race between those guys, and with the Sin Racing Team Pulperea car in the midst of it all, I think we might see an exciting conclusion to this one.
Yeah, all 3 of those cars all on the same strategy. So, interesting thing too is we see a fairly big disparity in pit stop times with the Odox car and the Euphoria car. But that is all due to, I know what you're referring to when you go, oh, we just see the Zenith get past the Team Huskenfeld car. They're all due to that clean air that the Odox car had in that first stint. They were at full throttle the whole way through, with the Euphoria car was able to draft and save a little bit of fuel in that first stint, which is the 8-second difference in pit stops. But at the moment it doesn't really matter because it's now out to 23.5 seconds. Up the inside goes SRB Racing on Team Huskenfeld, and that is moved on.
Yeah, Saratan Mayer getting the right side of his car airborne as he goes through that very extreme dip in turn 1. I always found that first hairpin a very intriguing turn. Of course, not one of the original turns on this track. I think it was added in 2002 or something like that. And actually, I think designed with input from Michael Schumacher. So that dip at the apex, I think, is something that has frustrated quite a few sim racers over the years.
Yeah, I think frustrated is the right word. It's not an enjoyable corner. It seems so easy. It's just a hairpin, but you don't want to get it on the wrong angle. And then you've got the little kink in the braking zone in a lot of cars as well. You've got to really think how you're going to get through that corner. As we're watching the battle for 19th and 20th for a little moment, Jim Racing Pink versus Pure Racing Team Yellow. These guys have been battling pretty much the entire nearly 2 hours of this race.
Yeah, they have. Actually, I believe we checked in with them a little bit before at some point. But yeah, Andy Gorton versus Daniel Schuch. Looks like Gorton's last lap was quite a bit slower than Schuch's, to the tune of about 5/10. So Schuch really pressuring the back of Gorton now.
Yes, this is a battle that is well and truly on now. The battles at the front have settled for a moment, so we'll stay with this for the moment because I've got a feeling something's going to happen in this pack. You sort of know when we watch so many sim races these days that you sort of almost get a feeling that something's going to happen in a battle pack before it does. Don't you almost get like a sixth sense about what's going to happen in a race? You can sense something's brewing. And this to me feels like this is the battle that's going to have something go on in the next little bit.
Yeah, certainly. Just monitoring lap times. Schuch, once again, faster than Gorton on that one, but not by as much as before. I've looked at their last few laps, and it seems Gorton has ran consistent mid-52s the last few laps. But Schuch, slightly less consistent, but he's dipped into the 51s quite a few times. So He looks to definitely be the faster car, but Gordon is just able to keep that pace consistent, which arguably is more important at this stage of the race.
Yep, and speaking of lap times, number 86, Euphoria Racing car, has just done their fastest lap of the race. So
1:3.62, that is massive pace from Canapino.
Third fastest lap of the race, behind the Sin Racing and Odox cars ahead. So they're getting the pace at the right time. This phase is now when they really need to start punching some lap times and try and jump a bit more ground in the pit stops to that Odox car and possibly put on a fight as we come up to the last stint. But we're going to go back to this battle between Dream Spirits and GT Ross Centre Pro because it is on again. Alex Arana will drop back, but he's right there once more.
Yeah, very determined drive from Alex Arana to claw back that gap to Sotomuto. And he's definitely on it now. You can see he's having those little looks in the braking zone that we saw from him before. He's getting back into that battle mode, getting ready to try and make the determined move that will decide the fate of this battle. At least in this stage of the race. Things could change. Anything can happen in motorsport, and it usually does, to take a leaf from Mr. Murray Walker's book. I'll tell you what, a battle happening behind those guys. Ricardo Ferreira and Aratan Meyer checking back in with the Zenith high-speed car. Remember, they're on worn tyres, and the SRB racing car looks to be a fair bit faster than them. In the background, Vara Ramiro for Teo Martin Esports has become the next car to pass the Team Hosenfeld car.
Just also saw, we said that we thought something was going to happen between Pure and Jim. It did, but it was only a change of position, so moved on. Pure Racing Team cars got through on the Jim Racing Pink car, so just to try and excite you for a moment there, it wasn't anywhere near as exciting as you thought, but this one is exciting because Sotomuto is now really having to defend from Alex Arana. Alex Arana looks like he's got some very, very good pace at the closing stages of this stint. We're actually seeing cars in the pits for their final stops right now.
Alright, so this is where the race is going to go off once again. I don't know how this battle is going to be decided, or if it will even be decided on track between these guys, but I'm taking a look at the body language of the two cars. You can see Sotomuto really soaring away at the wheel, trying to defend against Arana. Arana very determined in the placement of his car, and a little bit of a draft here. He lifts off once again, but you can tell, like, look at how much he closes up just before turn one. He knows exactly where to brake to try and just unsettle Muto, but not actually make any contact with him.
The Team Huskenfeld number 4 car, Michael Schuttler, is coming to the pits to make their stop. But yeah, the last lap, not the lap that we just watched, but the one before, Alex Arana was the fastest car on track. Last lap around he was the same pace, but obviously you can tell that from how close he is. He wasn't able to gain any more time because any more time would put him into the rear bumper.
Yeah, certainly.
Have a look at the battle behind because SRB Racing, Zenith High Speed, 7th and 8th. These closing stages, these closing laps before pit stops always seem to bring on some intense racing and some intense battles, don't they?
Oh yeah, certainly, because these guys have had the entire hour to try and get used to the way their cars drive and then decide what to do with the circumstances that have been given to them. It just so happens that it lines up with the exact time that the fuel runs out, so I'm not too sure how this is going to turn out. Zenith High Speed did not take tyres. SRB did, if I'm right.
Correct.
Okay, so
I'm going to say Zenith will come in this lap because I can't see them staying out too much longer, especially when the other cars that did that no tyre strategy have come in already. We've seen the Zenith car let the SRB car through. We'll see if Zenith comes in this lap. But Arata Meyer, very, very good stint from him this stint around, and Meyer comes in and right behind Zenith High Speed.
Yes, indeed, and a little bit of an update on two other cars we've been following. The cars that were involved in really closing up the battle between Dream Spirits and GT Ross. Christian Hewitt has now taken over the Team Hosenfeld car, and in the GTL VRT Gold car, Philip Oldak, and both of those cars will now have fresh tyres.
They are a lap down on the leader though, so They've had very long pit stops, and that's the one negative to being the first to pit. It does bring you out in traffic. It does put you a lap down, which, although you're on a different strategy to everyone else, you've got to be a little bit careful that you don't upset some other cars around you, because we've seen before that cars that are a lap down have been forced out of the way a little bit more aggressively than they should in this series. So hopefully we don't see any of that. But so did Muto. Actually pulled away a little bit of a gap from Alex Arana, and all of a sudden it's closed back up again.
Yeah, it definitely has. Muto flashing his lights at the traffic ahead of them. Of course, Philip Oldak, he has fresh tyres, but he is a lap down and he's still getting used to the car. He has to let these guys by, and he does so. But those cars stay about the same distance apart.
Oh, Arana had a big slide there though, so
boy.
he's lost a fair bit of ground. The hard thing for the GTL VRT Gold car, that was battling with these guys, or just behind these guys, only 2 laps ago. They've gone literally a full lap down. They're a full lap behind where they were. And as you said, fresh tyres, but they've got a full tank of fuel, which negates that fresh tyre advantage.
Yeah, and they also have to deal with the fact that they lost a bit of time letting those guys by, so it's not an optimal situation for them.
Going to go to a battle, 20th, 21st, 22nd in Bushwick Racing, Evolution Racing Team, and Rincon Racing R2P. These guys are coming up to the closing stages of their runs. Won't be far off seeing all of these cars in the pits for their next stop. Their final stop, I should say.
Yes, indeed. Bo Albert ran a little bit wide. That's brought Sergio Jr. right onto the back of him. That left-hander, man, I know from my own experience, it's a very interesting corner to get right, but Albert is now fully under attack from Jr., but he's going to pull out in the braking zone, stay behind for a few more corners.
What that's done, it's meant that Barry Morrison in the Team Bushwick Racing pink car has pulled a bit of a gap, so that battle that was on and all 3 cars nose to tail has amounted to very little.
Yes, indeed, but you could tell that that Sergio Jr. was quite a bit faster than Albert in that section of the track. Oh, and Albert ran wide in the first hairpin, so no, Bo is under a little bit of the threat here.
We'll see if they all close up again in the next little bit. They're all on the same strategy, so they all took fuel and tyres at the stop. Obviously took fuel because not going to make it on fuel, but they all pitted pretty much at the same lap as well. So give or take 1 or 2 laps as we come to under 61 minutes to go. So we're right up to the final threshold of the race as Dream Factory 69 comes in. Interesting to note that the gap between Euphoria and Odox has dropped from the last time we looked at it by half a second. So in 20 odd minutes of racing, Euphoria has only been able to take out about 4.5 tenths of a second to the race leader. So Canapino has not been able to eat into that gap from the Odox car at all.
Yeah, and I mean that just goes to show the consistency of the Odox car at this race. Adrian Baeza, who jumped into that car in the first pit stop, has done an absolutely sterling job backing up Jesus Cecilia's strong drive at the start. And I mean, like Odox, they've had their fair share of rotten luck in this series. Obviously, not always getting the results that their pace says they should, but at this round, they've really turned it on.
They have, and they're probably deserving to be in this position because they have been doing a very, very good job throughout this series. And good to see them getting some, finding some form at the end of this series. They've been there or thereabouts the whole way through and just sort of plodding along, and they're going quite alright. What's happened?
Problems for Glacier North. Pekka Tuomainen, I think, has suffered a disconnection, and JJ Nylander's had to get back in the car, but they're going to have to wait for the tow.
Yeah,
so
they will.
Big
the other issue
problems
too
for
will
car
be
46.
Nylander. How many laps has Nylander done?
Yeah.
They'll have to be careful to not get disqualified due to too many laps from one driver. So another fan favourite not having a great run in the second portion of the race. The Ester Racing car still going on. They've made their final pit stops and are back out there. No tyres at the stop though, so they're going to try and mix something up, try and pull a rabbit out of the hat. They are the first car that is one lap down. They've actually come out ahead of Zenith High Speed and Team Huskenfeld, so they might be in an okay situation, but long time to go in this race on very, very worn tyres.
Yeah, certainly. This, I think this is really going to bring things together, as it were, because we saw at the end of this last stint that's just finishing up now, the big gaps between cars with fresh tyres and old tyres. Well, that's going to happen, but the inverse of such at the end of this race. And it's in those dying minutes that you see some of the most desperate moves being made.
Just going back to a battle, while it is on track 30th, 31st and 32nd, these guys have pitted and are well and truly out of sequence. This is GTL VRT Gold versus SRB Racing versus Team Chimera. Now these guys all fresh tyres, all battling for potentially top 5 positions. This is a bit of a juicy battle right now. They were all at one point around that top 5 in that last stint.
Yeah, they certainly were. Now, I don't think the SRB racing car took tyres in that second pit stop.
They had
took tyres in the first one.
They did, and they took tyres again, but they also got a speeding and pit lane penalty because they had a 20-second longer stop than the Team Chimera car behind.
Oh my goodness! So that has that's really put things in a poor position for SRB. So you're right, Jay. This is an out-and-out battle. Speaking
of poor positions as well, just talking up how Ester Racing have got themselves back into a good situation. Looks like they may be out of the race because they are having all sorts of internet and connection issues. And they are pretty much out of the race as it looks right now. They were fighting. They would have got themselves back into a top 5 position. Their connection looks like, no, they're back. And they're still the first car on the lead lap. Sorry, the first car 1 lap down. So they're okay. They're back.
That's scary. That's very scary.
That was a long time they were gone for. And he's gone again. So hopefully he can get that sorted. And we'll start to see where they actually end up in the next few minutes, because we're going to see the leaders in the lane probably in the next 2 laps or so. Seen about 34 laps is the longest that any team has gone on a stint. This is lap number 30 for the Odox car in the lead of the race. So maybe another 3 or 4 laps before we see them in to the pits. The top 7 all on the same length stint. So all pretty much on the same strategy. The leading car that is complete of their pit stops is Dream Factory. Dream Factory currently in 16th. They are a minute 31 behind the race leader. Depending on how long Odox is stopped for, Dream Factory could come out of this right with Odox.
Yeah, and that would be excellent for Dream Factory. Especially the fact that, you know, they've been seen battling in those lower positions in the top 5 for much of the race. I've just been monitoring the Ester Racing Ferrari. It's continuing to blink in and out of existence on the track. Certainly,
actually looks like they've gone a lap down because of it too.
Marin Cholak will not be liking that.
Yeah, it looks like they've been what's referred to as clock smashed, where they don't cross the start-finish line because they're out of the game, and where they reappear is pretty much where they left, so the sim doesn't recognise them as to have completed a lap, and it's put them a lap down. So what potentially was turning into a bit of a smart strategy play has looked like it's turned very, very sour. But we go back to the GLT Gold versus SRB versus Team Chimera car battle, because these 3 guys, they're all trying to almost work together. They're not fighting, they're just sort of encouraging each other along at the moment.
Yeah, they certainly are. It's very nice to see.
So it's actually smart driving too. These guys all know that they've got to work up, and if they fight too hard, they're not going to come out in the optimal positions that they want to be. So we saw the GTL VRT Gold car, the Oldak car, they had to give up a few spots because of lap traffic and such, but now they've got fresh air. They've found a bit of a rhythm, and they're bringing along a couple of friends and working together. Hopefully it's not actually that they're holding the cars up behind, because that could mean that things will get a little bit messy.
Yeah, most likely. In other news, for the Esther Racing Ferrari, Marin Cholak has indeed dropped from the server, so I think that is indeed race done for Esther, unfortunately.
Austin Canapino into the pits to make his final pit stop, so the first one to jump out of that top 7 group that was on the same strategy. See where they come out in the Euphoria Racing car with 52 minutes to go in the race. Of what is a big weekend here on V8, a big weekend of sim racing here on iRacing with, of course, this race, the Blancpain GT Series, the Blancpain Endurance Series Pro Qualifiers in around about 2 hours' time. Green flag for the Road Pro Formula 1 qualifiers for Pro Series, and at the same time green flag for the iRacing 24 hours of Daytona. Catch all the action from Top Split here on V8 Online along with our friends at RaceSpot TV. Looking forward to that tomorrow.
Yeah, certainly.
Or today, depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah, of course. Such is 24-hour racing. But yeah, as you said, Jay, very big weekend for sim racing, and you know, a lot of eyes are going to be on the top sim racing teams in the world as they compete for honours in the Daytona 24. And it's certainly going to be an interesting one, because it's going to be the first one, the first Daytona 24 that the new GTE cars compete in.
Yep. Also hearing some very big names rumoured to be racing. Won't name names, but I know that there is at least 2 drivers that have raced in the real Daytona 24 that are racing. And there's also potentially someone that's raced at the highest level racing as well. Not going to say anymore. Big weekend though, very big weekend. You can catch it all here on V8 Online and also with our friends at RaceSpot TV as well. They'll bring you the start through to 8 hours time, then we'll go from hours 8 through to hour 16, and then RaceSpot will take over the coverage to the end. But it's going to be a very, very big weekend of sim racing throughout the 3 disciplines that we're going to have. We're going to have, as we said, us after this race finishes. It's pretty much time for Road Pro to get underway. It's coverage from that will start in around about 2 hours time on RaceSpot. And at the same time, the Daytona 24 will start. But yeah, I can see, I almost heard your brain ticking over when I said that, Reese. I'm like, oh, hang on, who's he talking about there?
Yeah, I'm
Well, I reckon I could guarantee straight away you'll know one of the Daytona 24 real life starters.
Oh yeah, of course. There is one.
It's one very easy, very publicly on Facebook that he's racing in it. Of course, we're talking about Shane Van Gisbergen. Raced last year and the year before. I think the last 3 years he's raced in the Daytona 24.
Yeah, certainly.
We're racing with our friends at Oceanic Sim Racing. They're all racing in the Mercedes.
Battle.
Yep, got it.
GTL VRT.
Yep, just saw that.
They've got a lapping car behind them. This is the Tio Martin Esports 51 car. Caught in the midst of all of this. Oh. He's not liking this, is he? No,
this isn't where he wants to be. You almost think that he would have got told to get into the pits that lap. You don't want to get caught in this battle, alright? These guys are a lap down. We're seeing a change of position there. But whilst they're a lap down, these are actually the cars that they're battling. These are the cars that when they come out of the pits, they're going to be fighting with.
Yeah, certainly. So they're technically still fighting with them. I suppose if you want to get super technical.
That is very technical, almost too technical for me.
Ah, I'll try to tone it down.
Well done to Yoni for guessing the other real-life Daytona 24 driver.
Yes, indeed. Very,
But
very
the other
public,
one
as well.
The other one, not really allowed to say too much.
Not allowed to say too
No,
much.
been sworn to secrecy.
Why? Well, I'll be thinking very hard on that one.
Just waiting for Reese to send me a message here to say, who is it?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep myself in the dark. I want to be surprised.
Well, hopefully the rumours that I've been told very strongly are true. As we're going to a battle between the 32 and the 765. Oh, around! BRT 32
dear.
car around into the fence. No, they've held it.
Oh, goodness me! And that is right in the midst of the battle for third and fourth between Alex Arana and Sotomuto. How did nothing worse happen there? That is crazy. Insane.
If ever we needed a CPR replay, it was right now, because
Yeah.
that was huge.
Insane. So let's review here. Looks to me just like Yari Lotari was holding his line, and Nikodem Wisniewski tried moving across, not knowing that Motari was holding his line, and just around he went. Amazing that he was able to just keep it out of the wall.
I don't know how he kept it out of the wall.
Well, I think he just grazed it, but still, that is insane. That should have been much worse than it was. All the laws of nature, physics, science, technology, what have you.
Yep, that should have been race ending for the ERT 32 car, and somehow they only lost 2 spots. I'm sure those tyres are destroyed and torched from it, but somehow I only lost 2 spots.
I have nothing to say.
We go back live. Starting to see a few more cars into the pits. Dream Spirits versus GT Ross Centre Pro. That has ended that battle. I think Alex Arana's decided his tyres are shot, got nothing left. Can't do any more, can't push on. See if it closes up, but I don't think it's going to. But those battles from the cars that have made their second stop, that is where the racing is at right now. Have a look at this between SAB Racing. We've got the GTL VRT Gold car coming through, and that's a car that is out of sequence, the 730.
Oh, the Team Hosingfeld car was around at the chicane.
Oh no, yes, you can see that now.
Yeah, Christian Hewitt. It looks like that was, he lost it on his own, unfortunately. Just hit that anti-cut in the middle of the chicane, and around Christian Hewitt went.
Probably just watching his mirrors a little bit too much and just missed the apex at the first part of the chicane. As you said, just clip that anti-cup and hit the tyre bundle just softly, but hit it.
Yeah, as I'm seeing...
Team Chimera's around. Yeah,
oh,
the
no.
54 car.
How did that happen? Let's have a look at that. It's a very... Oh, looks like just lifting off, and the rear end decided to go around a bit. Still, Joshua Chin able to keep it going, which is good. Within the pits, Wave Driving Revolution and the number 14 Odox car.
Wave Driving Revolution back out on track. So those guys have been battling inside the top 10 all race. Then up as high as 5th at one point. They're back out there. No tyres for those guys, and they've come out behind Dream Factory. And they'll resume their battle that they had before as our leader comes into the pits. This will start the shuffle throughout the field.
It certainly will. So Adrian Baeza brings the Odox car into the pit box as the number 14 Odox re-enters the track just ahead of him.
What a stint
And
there.
that's going to be a driver swap once again for those guys. Jesus Cecilia jumping back into the car. Adria Perez also in the pits.
The Amos 5000 car has come in for another stop. They've actually towed as well, so they're going to be out of the race because they pulled up at the pit entry. They didn't go all the way to their box. So
Maybe they ran out of fuel.
Yeah, with that, or they've had an issue with that incident there with the RT car that it's caused a bit too much steering damage. Not sure. It just seems a bit surprising though that they've just stopped the car.
Yes, driver swaps for the GT Ross and Dream Spirits battle.
And
Taking over the GT Ross car.
Watch Canapino here. Canapino's done his second stop. He's going to take the lead, is he? No, the Sin Racing car has taken the lead because they did not take tyres. The Odox car still stopped. Away they go. So Sin Racing now leads. Euphoria in second. Odox for the first time in the race out on track, but not in the lead. They are in third. Fresh tyres though. This is going to be a very, very heated battle for the next 42 minutes.
It certainly is, and a little update on the GT Ross and Dream Spirits battle. Martin Solari has taken over the GT Ross car. Meanwhile, still stopped in the pits, actually just going now. Takane Suzuki in the Dream Spirits racing car, so they took tyres in that second pit stop.
Yep, definitely took tyres. It's a fairly long stop for those guys. Around about 53 seconds or so. So about the standard for the cars that have taken tyres at that stop, but Canapino and Ricardo Rico in the Sin Racing car, these guys are going to have to do it with no tyres. Ricardo Rico's probably got the hardest job because he's going to have to do no tyres and a driver swap.
Yeah, that's it. He's definitely been thrown right into the deep end, has Ricardo, and he's got traffic. That's the Rincon Racing R2P machine just gone by. So now we'll have to wait and see what kind of lap times these guys are going to be doing on their first laps out of the pits. This is exciting.
This is going to be really juicy. It's about 5.5 seconds separating Odox and Sin Racing. Got 41 minutes to go now. Canapino is going to be the wild card in this because Canapino was matching the Odox car for pace. No tyres though for Canapino. He's going to have to try and hold on from Jesus Cecilia, who had a great first stint. So this is going to be a real heated battle. 41.5 minutes of racing to go. Strap yourselves in. This is going to be on.
It certainly is. And wow, have a look at Jesus Cecilia and the way he's closing up already to Canapino. Of course, both of these drivers, fantastic sim racers. Canapino on those worn tyres has got his work cut out for him right now. He'll be searching for every little bit of available grip to try and keep Cecilia behind him. Meanwhile, further up, Ricardo Rico looks like he's gapped that traffic nicely.
He's actually pulling a little bit of a gap on Canapino as well. So Cecilia's got it down to 4.5 seconds in pretty much half a lap. It's gained half a second. As the last of our runners are in the pits for their final stop. So the field is now cleansed. Everything is back in order. We know who is where, and the race is on for the lead.
It certainly is. Now, looking from Canapino back at Cecilia, just to see where he's gaining time. And you see, look at that under brakes, Cecilia right there. That corner entry just is miles better than Canapino's, which makes sense. There's so many long turns on this track, so many high load corners. It's not good for the front tyres if you keep going. And Cecilia, with that fresh rubber on the front especially, is going to be loving the way his Mercedes handles right now. And Canapino now struggling to stay ahead.
Yeah, one way you almost think Canapino just needs to not fight too hard, let Cecilia through and follow him up to catch up to the back of Ricardo Rico. But at the same time, he doesn't want to give up any spots. He wants to stay and hold on to that second position, because if he does let Cecilia through, which you'd think in the next 40 minutes it will happen. But as soon as he lets him through, he's not going to be able to get back through. So Cecilia really in the box seat at the moment. But you never know what's going to happen in sim racing. Strange things have and often do. We've seen it in this series already.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually thinking of an even further long game, an even longer game towards the end of the race. Canapino lets Cecilia by, follows Cecilia to catch up to Rico, and then possibly banking on Rico, holding up Cecilia such that Canapino can get back past.
Maybe he could get past both of them, hoping that they come together.
Yeah, exactly. That's one possibility. I don't know if that'll be on Canapino's mind at all, considering the situation he's in right now, but that's one possible way this race could pan out. Or have a look at Jesus Cecilia. That braking zone is his strongest point on the lap by far. Oh, here we go. Bit of a draft coming into the chicane.
You'd think turn one's probably where it's going to happen, but it's the one corner that Canapino's looks strongest is this final corner. Just that different line. He's able to get a bit more of a run out of the corner. He's got a little bit more speed, but that time there, Cecilia come with him, followed the line, and Cecilia might be close enough with some draft down the back, down the front straight to get it done as they start their 76th lap of this race. We've got about 31 to go. Sorry, 21 to go, I should say.
Oh, have a look at this. Cecilia taking that title line into turn 2. Able to afford to take that slightly shallower entry. He's got the extra grip to work with. The gap just keeps getting closer and closer every single lap, and you can see the body language of Canapino's car changing just slightly. He's taking those smooth lines, taking those really extreme lines, trying to maximize his speed as much as possible, running off the track almost, way off that green painted tarmac. Cecilia, this is where he has an opportunity to strike. After this S-bend, very high load, Canapino's tyres will be screaming for some reprieve through here, and then coming up to this braking zone, watch Cecilia.
Interesting too that these guys are fighting, but they're still catching Ricardo Rico at the rate of around about 6/10 a lap.
Yeah,
last lap around they were both 6/10 quicker.
Yeah, Canapino is doing high 51s on old tyres.
I don't know how.
I don't know how.
That's an extremely good pace. He's the second fastest car on track, with absolutely destroyed rubber, because that first stint that he did, the second stint of the race, the middle stint, he was the second fastest car on track. The fastest car on track is right on his tail though. Here we go again.
Yes, indeed, coming into turn 1. So it looks like the points at which Cecilia looks like he may put a move on Canapino are at the left-hander towards the end of the lap and in turn 2. He's not going to be able to do it in turn 1 here, but watch into turn 2. Canapino goes all the way over to the right side of the circuit, but Cecilia stays a car length more to the left. Doesn't quite gain as much that time, but that's the line that seems to work for him. And you can see Cecilia being much more aggressive with his steering inputs now on corner entry. Canapino, though, soaring away at the wheel on corner exit, trying to keep those rears in check as they come round to the midpoint of the track. Once again, for the 77th time, they are bumper to bumper here. Canapino, having looked after his rear tyres, I believe, is just able to keep Cecilia ahead on corner exit. Corner entry, though, Cecilia gaining once again.
Yeah, Cecilia looks really strong through there, but Canapino's just doing enough to maintain that gap, isn't he? He's just looking like he's not going to let Cecilia by. Cecilia's going to have to work really hard to get this move done.
Yeah, well...
And surprisingly, they're actually gaining on the leader. When you see guys fight like this, they're usually giving up time. They're gaining and gaining in a pretty considerable margin.
Yeah, this is some insane pace from both of these guys. Canapino did another 51.8 that last time. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes under 1 minute 52 again on this lap.
Cecilia was the fastest car on track last lap round. Second fastest car was Canapino.
He made a little bit of a mistake, got slightly offline in the chicane, and now he's run a little bit wide in the last turn. So, Cecilia, there's some cracks showing.
These two cars were the fastest cars on track. The only two cars to do 1 minute 51's the last lap round. That lap there, though, Canapino 51.8 versus our leader, Rico, of a 152.3. So another half a second taken out.
This is insane. Absolutely insane. Like, the not taking anything away from Cecilia and of course, his teammate at Odox, Adrian Baeza. They have been the class of the field this race, but
by far,
once again, Agustin Canapino has shown that, my God, he's got something special, hasn't he?
He's got some incredible pace and he's doing a fantastic job. And look at the gap between second and first, now down to 2.1 seconds. But Cecilia now, this is where he looks strongest, and defending now is Canapino. That's the first time that Canapino's had to defend aggressively. Cecilia comes back behind. Oh,
yeah,
almost.
Cecilia, yeah, that was almost a spin. Cecilia just keeping that car under control. You are able to overtake around the outside on that corner. It's a bit cambered, but Cecilia wasn't quite able to get it done. Now in this braking zone, look at how much he closes up once again. They climb all over the curbs through this banked downhill right-hander, sorry. Getting my lefts and rights confused once again. Have a look at the run Cecilia's got down the straight. He's moving around behind Canapino. Canapino is going to have to stay on the outside into the chicane. Cecilia is going to go through.
Wow. So this is game-changing, race-changing pass there as we tick down to half an hour just over left in this race. Here we go.
Ahead, Ricardo Rico. He'll be seeing that in his rearview mirror and
play the Jaws theme now, because the Jaws theme is pretty appropriate for what is going to happen right now, because Cecilia, fresh tyres, fueled up, ready to get it home, and Rico, obviously nothing against him, but he's going to really struggle to hold that gap out for too much longer. In saying that, the first part of this lap, he's actually stretched it a tiny little bit. Not much though, but enough.
Yeah, certainly.
Actually looking at the Sin Racing Team car, it actually looks like there's a tiny little bit of rear wing damage. Is there? No.
No.
Just that funny angle that the BMW has on the edges. It sometimes looks like there's damage on those cars, and there isn't. But have a look at the gap that Cecilia's already pulled on Canapino now that he's got in front.
Yeah, that's quite crazy. You can tell, like, the true pace of Jesus Cecilia has now been unleashed.
See what he can do now that he has been unleashed though, because it's now down to 1.8, and I'm going to say another 3 laps and he will be right on the tail. There's not too much else happening out on track in regards to battles at the moment. There's a couple of battles happening between the Gym Racing, Azuri, the Odox Motorsport, Samsung and Zenith High Speed, but nothing close enough to be worthy of taking your attention away from the Odox Motorsport car that is now about a second behind the leader.
It's really going off now. Really going off. It's a 52.4 from Ricardo Rico. Jesus Cecilia, a 51.1!
51.1. Only driver, sorry, 2 drivers in the 51s, but the other driver in the 51s is Takane Suzuki with a 51.8. 51.1, what a lap. And it's now down to 1.1 seconds. First to second, it is on for the lead of this race right now.
Jesus Cecilia has been unleashed. Have a look at how quickly he's catching up to the back of that BMW. Ricardo Rico, all due respect, he's a sitting duck right now, I think.
I think you're right, and have a look at the gap that Canapino's dropped to Cecilia. We thought that Canapino might have been able to catch up to the back of Ricardo Rico. He probably still can, but nowhere near the pace that Jesus Cecilia has right now, because it is 6/10. Don't really need a graphic on screen to tell us anymore, because they are now in the same shot.
Yeah, for sure. You can now see the gap is visual and decreasing. Jesus Cecilia once again in that braking zone. The car is so strong there. Those two turns of the circuit are among Cecilia's strongest, and wow, that right there is proof of how hard he's pushing.
I think it's a win it or bin it situation with the way that he's driving at the moment. He doesn't care, but it's first or nothing. The way that Jesus Cecilia is driving that car at the moment, you would not be surprised if it's turn one. Probably just seeing ahead that there's some traffic not too far away, so we want to get it done before that traffic comes into effect. Come across the line to complete 80 laps, start the 81st lap of this race, and have a look at how easy Cecilia is going to get it done. Well and truly before the braking zone here, purely based on that straight line speed and power advantage of the Mercedes. Jesus Cecilia, Odox Motorsport, retake the lead of this race. They led the first 2 hours and 10 minutes of this race, and for only 22 odd minutes of the race they weren't leading. And have a look at how quickly that gap is already stretched out.
Yeah.
It's just blitzing away from Ricardo Rico, and Rico needs to be careful because Austin Canapino is under 2 seconds behind him now, so second and third is definitely not settled in this motor race.
Certainly not, and of course you can't take anything away from the Pulperia team. Ricardo Rico and Adria Perez have done an absolutely sterling job all race.
Well, been in the top three all race.
Yeah, to get themselves into that position versus the Mercedes, which are by and away the strongest cars here today. Yeah, sterling effort from those guys.
Of course, they started in third. The car that was ahead of them and in between the Odox and Sim car was the Orion Racing Team car, but that succumbed to issues not that long into the second stint of the race, so they had to retire that car. As we go back in the field to the 74 and the number 3, the Team Bushfink Racing Pink versus SRB Racing, the number 3 of Cesar Ferrona. These guys have got very, very close over the last little while. The Team Bushfink Pink, the last car to pit in this race, but also didn't take tyres. They only pitted 7 laps ago. Cesar Ferrona pitted 19 laps ago, and as we said, they had a bit of a penalty. They had a very long pit stop. They've managed to break ahead of the GLT, VRT Gold and the Team Chimera cars over the last little while. They've broken about 5 seconds ahead, but Barry Morrison in the Team Bushfink Racing car under a lot of pressure right now.
Yeah, they certainly are, and you can see in terms of the lap times, Barry Morrison's last lap, a 53.076, a 52.332 from Cesar Ferrona, 7/10 on that last lap taken out of Morrison. And I wouldn't be surprised if a move is made at some point in the next lap or so.
Yeah, I think turn 1 is probably where it will happen. We've seen a fair few passes in turn 1. It is obviously the most logical place to pass at this circuit with the long straight and the fairly decent draft that you can get out of the final corner, but possibly going to get it done into the chicane under brakes. That's a bit ambitious, but he got it done. Cesar Ferrona, good move.
Certainly, and I don't think he has to worry about Morrison anymore. The next car up the track from Cesar Ferrona is Nikodem Wisniewski in the ERT number 32 car, but it looks like Wisniewski has the pace advantage there, so
about the same lap time pace-wise. Obviously Cesar Ferrona that lap there a little bit off the pace, but I'm interested to see how that ERT car continues to go with that damage that it sustained from the incident with the Amos 5000 car.
Yes, indeed. Well, I have a feeling that may be where they finish ERT if Nikodem cannot catch up to the Paraguay Racing AV car just ahead. There might be enough time left for him to catch up to the back, but I don't know about passing. Tell you what, Agustin Canapino has once again dipped into the 1 minute 51s of worn tyres in his chase of the 444 car. It's a 52.2 from Ricardo Rico. So Canapino has calmed down a little bit, and he's gotten back into a nice rhythm after losing that position to Cecilia.
Good lap
He's just
from
chipping away.
good lap from Canapino, but have a look at the comparison between he and Cecilia. The last lap from Cecilia, another 151.1.
Yes, indeed. So Cecilia absolutely on a roll here right now.
Canapino, I think, is going to close up in the next 2 or 3 laps. I don't know if he's going to be able to get past, because Ricardo Rico looks pretty strong in the spots that Canapino looks strong.
Yeah.
That are passing opportunities, that is.
Yes.
Through that S there, the Canapino looks a little bit less, or looks to struggle a little bit. Probably a little bit more pace, but maybe the final corner is probably the only corner he's really strong.
Yeah, it might be a bit of a challenge for Canapino to get by Rico here. It all comes down to how good the exit from the last turn is. Because down this long front straight, that's where the Mercedes has its greatest advantage over the BMW. Every Mercedes pass on a BMW that we've seen down there has been done before the braking zone, or pretty much level with it. So,
and Canapino has probably been the strongest out of that final corner out of the entire field, so maybe he will be able to get it done. He's just got to get close enough. At the moment, the gap, 1.5 seconds. 22 minutes to go, so you'd say there would be enough time, especially looking at their lap times, and saying that last lap around, pretty much identical lap times. So now that he's got almost in the draft range, has he got enough to still keep going and get onto the rear?
Yeah, does he have enough tyres left to get that done? Because Canapino, the way that he's been driving, the kind of pace he's been extracting out of that car all race, all the time that he's been driving, those tyres will be absolutely shot, almost out of the canvas at this point.
So Odok's now absolutely blitzed away, 3.5 seconds ahead now. But the Sim Racing team versus Euphoria Racing, I'm not going to say the rest because I will butcher those. Just a side note update for everyone who is having a bit of a laugh about my team deciding to race the 24. They still haven't decided what car to run yet. They're only an hour and a half away. How's that? What a team to drive for. Who wants to do the 24-hour 3 hours before the 24-hour race starts? Let's have a discussion about whether we even want to do it.
What car are we going to be driving? Let's find out.
It's like a mystery. It's like an episode of Scooby-Doo. You're not going to find out the actual culprit until the end. And it'll be the curveball that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
Would have got away with it. One few.
Old man Daytona prototype.
What? No, it won't be that.
Well, that's a curveball.
Would be a curveball. I'll tell you what, it's another curveball, a battle that's started to brew on track between Wave Driving Revolution and Dream Spirits.
Yeah.
Now, Dream Spirits, we know... Oh, they're going to get it done here.
Yeah.
Oh, 3 wide. Leicester car involved unintentionally after getting back out on track, but Wave Driving Revolution, no tyres at their stop. Dream Spirits Racing did take tyres, and that was just tyre advantage there. So Dream Spirits are now back into 6th. They've got one more spot to get up to that position that they were in for pretty much the whole first stint of the race. Dream Factory is the car that they've battled for pretty much the whole of this race. They're 8.5 seconds up the road though.
Yes, they are. Having a look at the pace between them, it looks to me it's a 52.38 from Dream Factory, 52.059 from Dream Spirits.
under a second between second and third though. It's on. It is on.
Yeah, we're coming up. We're actually at the part of the circuit where the Mercedes is the best car to have. Just through these 3 last turns, Canapino all over those curbs and taking a line through the last turn that I haven't seen him do before. Just a conventional apex right in the middle of the turn line. Oh, and Ricardo Rico running a little bit wide in the hairpin, so just managing to hold on in that BMW.
And it's a real just, isn't it? It looks like now starting to struggle. Those tyres are destroyed. He's pushed in the pace at the absolute maximum level he can, and it's only a matter of time before Austin Canapino gets by. I think it's not a matter of if, it's now when, because that Sin Racing team car has looked very, very strong, but in the last 2 or 3 laps it's starting to look a little bit more vulnerable. It's starting to look like some cracks are starting to appear.
Will they both make their way, well, one of them makes their way past the Team Hosingfeld car, which, oh man, what a race for them, eh?
Oh, the SRB Racing number 3 car, Cesar Frono. He's got issues. He's
problem
disappeared off the timing screens.
Oh.
So the SRB Racing Mercedes, which we saw starting to work its way forward, they're succumbing to what has happened to quite a few cars in this race with some internet or hardware issues.
Wow, that is a real shame for SRB. They were doing quite well, weren't they?
They were doing really well. So
it could have been a top 5 for them, but yeah, unfortunately that penalty just cost them way too much time.
Yeah, they would have been in the top 5 for sure, and they were fighting their way to get themselves back into that top 10. But it looks like it's all said and done for them, and that won't happen. So gap now with that lap traffic didn't close as much as expected, but after turn 1, Canapino is right there.
Yes, he is, and we may see that move happen any moment now.
I'm going to say next lap.
Yeah, most likely.
There's no other real battles happening on track at the moment. Actually, there is, because Gym Racing Pink is likely to be passed right now into turn 1, and is by Odox Motorsports Samsung. Juan Jose Sanchez gets through. So up to 11th for the other Odox car. So 1 and 11 for those guys in this race. It's pretty good. And Zenith High Speed just behind. They're on the alternate strategy. They didn't take tyres on the first, but did on this one, and they'll probably get past Gym Racing Pink.
Yeah, and it'll be another notch in positions gained for them off their starting position, fighting for 12th place now, having started in 21st. So from outside the top 20 to almost on the verge of the top 10, that's quite a good result when all things are considered.
Especially when they were down in 35th or so at one point. We go back to 2nd and 3rd. I think this is going to happen now. Canapino in the draft. Overspeed down the front straight. I don't know if he's going to get it.
Yeah, and through that last turn, I saw Canapino blinking.
Oh no.
That's what my little uh-oh was about.
Oh no. That is definitely worth an uh-oh. Go back to Zenith High Speed because Canapino is not close enough right now, but this 999 car, been in the wars in the first hour, great strategy play in the second hour, and they're going to get themselves fighting right on the outside of the top 10, possibly could get themselves into the top 10, depending on how the battles ahead go. So we're going to go back to Canapino because he's right there now.
Yeah, he is. Canapino. Will he be able to get by Rico? Well, they're coming down to the southern hairpin. The 88 transition of that hairpin. You can see Ricardo Rico through that section. He's able to stay just ahead of Canapino in terms of relative pace.
It's surprising that Canapino, the corners that he was looking really strong earlier, now looking like they're nowhere near as strong as before, and Ricardo Rico's sort of come back a little bit. It's like he was almost saving up some tyres and leaving it so he could push hard for this last 15 odd minutes or so, but it's going to be real juicy. I think Canapino might be close enough now though. He's got to get a great exit here out of the last corner. Will he do it?
Yes, indeed.
Running
he's
wide.
Go to the inside.
Oh, and Canapino got a little bit of wheel spin too and couldn't quite get traction down. So he's not going to get the run down the front straight. They're only now going to match speed.
He's starting to come back.
Ricardo Rico will defend coming into turn one. They're going to hold position for another lap. This is going to get really spicy here this next few minutes.
Yes, it is. These are the final 2 spots on the podium we're looking at here. If you just joined us or if you just come back.
And there's only 8 laps to go as well.
Yeah. So this has the possibility to be decided very explosively.
I think it will get very explosive. I think something's going to happen, and so just going to quickly go back to the Gym Racing versus Zenith car, because I feel like the Zenith car, although BMW won't have the straight line speed, will he be able to get something happening down the front straight here? He's close enough.
Yeah, and look, he got a really good exit there compared to the gym car. He's actually gaining in a straight line.
Wow, draft advantage.
Look at that.
When he pulls out though, he might lose that advantage, but under brakes he's going to be stronger. Have the inside run. Position gained. Gym Racing Pink drops back to 13. Zenith High Speed up into 12. We go back to the battle for second and third once again.
Yes, we do, and it's now the inverse of the battle we were just watching. That one was a BMW chasing a Mercedes. Now it's a Mercedes chasing a BMW. Now, is Canapino going to make the same mistake this lap? I highly doubt it, because I think last lap at the last corner, his mistake was going to the inside. If he had just, if he laid apex, he probably would have been able to get the run.
I think he was concerned that he was going to hit the back of Ricardo Rico, who ran a little bit wide and missed the apex. I think he was a little bit thrown by it, almost put off by it, and I don't think he's going to be close enough this time. We're going to go another lap where he's not going to be able to get it done. Is he going to throw it up the inside at the last second?
He made a quick move, didn't he? A little bit of an unsettling move in the mirrors.
Yeah, I think Ricardo Rico's starting to watch his mirrors a bit. He's not really focused as much. In saying that, the rest of the track, Ricardo Rico's looking a lot stronger than he had, but through turn one, that lap there, or that turn there through turn one, Ricardo Rico looked a little bit vulnerable, almost like he wasn't expecting Canapino to even have a go. Saw Canapino make a tiny little move and then had to react to it.
Yeah.
It's mirror watching or mirror driving for sure now.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know, man. Canapino, there you go. He's on the headlight flash button. He's now resorting to psychological warfare in this battle. That's what we love about these battles. Sometimes the psychological element comes into it. You got to try and psych out your opponent sometimes when simply outracing them is not enough.
Well, motorsport is a psychological game. It's such a mental game. It's a game of mental strength and toughness, and it's just as much a mental game as a physical game. So being able to play those mind games and those little things that can distract and break the concentration of the driver ahead, forcing a mistake, is just as important as actually having great pace.
Certainly is, and Canapino has taken a good line through the last corner this time round.
Maybe ran a little bit wide and couldn't quite get traction, but he's maybe close enough.
Might we see a move? Ricardo's moving over He's protecting the inside. He knows what's coming. Canapino's stuck on the outside, and due to the nature of this hairpin and the turn after, he's just unable to get the move
Over
done.
under here though, over under. He might be able to do it. Oh, little wiggle for Ricardo Rico, not quite able to though. Canapino almost threw up the inside. This
Rico's
is
in
odd.
trouble. Rico's in trouble.
Oh yes, for sure. He's
That
really
rear end
struggling.
is gone.
Really struggling with rear grip now. And Canapino, will he throw it up the inside here? No.
Rico
Thought
stays
about it.
firmly in the middle of the road.
Yep. Using, as my old phrase, the alternate line. It's not blocking, it's just using a different line. He's not making extra moves to block the position. He's just using an alternate line to try and save the position. And driving through the middle of the road, it sometimes is enough, but I don't know. It's going to be tough. Canapino looks strong.
You see the launch from Rico there. He was just able to get on the throttle so early. And these guys know they've only got a few laps left to try and decide this position, so
Yeah,
they're
5
both
laps.
going. Yeah, 100% commitment from these guys.
Out in
Oh,
front.
have a look.
Oh.
How you going? Into the gravel trap from Rico.
Out the front, Cecilia's pulled 13.5 seconds in what, 6 laps? Last lap around just did a 1 minute 50.9.
Oh my
1 minute 50.8, sorry. 1 minute 58. The
Everyone
fastest
pack up
lap
and go
of
home.
the race just then from Jesus Cecilia. But we're watching the battle second and third because Canapino, is he close enough this time? I don't know.
Rico's going to go to the inside
Of
again,
course
I bet. There
he
we
is.
go. He's already moving over, but Canapino moving over a little bit further. He's stuck on the outside again into the hairpin.
He needs to brake a little bit later if he's stuck on the outside there and try and hold it around the outside. You can't hold it on the outside, as you said before. It is banked a little bit. The camber will help him.
Oh,
Goes up the
here we
inside,
go.
throws it up.
Inside, but Rico's going to hold it. He's going to hold it here, but Canapino now has a bit more apex speed here. Is he going to try and go for the move here? Rico is trying to protect the inside. He's staying in the middle of the road once again. This is a repeat of last lap.
What a battle this has been over the last 5 or 6 laps.
This is fantastic racing. This is why the Nurburgring GP circuit, I think, is one of my favourite circuits and one of the most underrated tracks ever. Because that battle would not have been the way that things would not be happening like they are were it not for the very specific sequence of turns that this track has. Canapino makes a mistake.
No! Big error from Canapino. Now he's got a lot of work to do. He's got to flash the headlights to try and get a bit of distraction. But he's lost half a second from that one little slide. Yep, too much curb, just clipped it and slid. Now he's only got 4 laps to catch back up and try and get a move done. There's another battle happening back in the field. Wave Driving Revolution holding on from Pure Racing Team Yellow and Teo Martin Esports. Teo Martin Esports have taken tyres at their stop. They're only on 19 lap old tyres. The other 2 cars ahead, the Wave and the Pure cars, they both are on very, very old rubber. So this battle is going to be very intense. Will the Pure car get past the Wave Driving Revolution car?
Yeah, this is the big question. Oh, Luca Fioravanti there running a little bit wide, so he's facing a lot of pressure now from Daniel Schuch. Meanwhile, in the background, Alfredo Maloa almost 6/10 faster than Schuch and 8/10 faster than Fioravanti. Have a look here. Oh, Fioravanti staying in the middle of the road, but he moves over and Schuch goes on through. Meanwhile, Alfredo Malo has seen that happening and he wants a piece of it as well. I'm fairly sure he'll be able to go by Fioravanti coming into turn 1.
Yeah, I reckon you're right. And just watching the clock once again, another 1 minute 50, 1 minute 50.9, only 3 100ths off the fastest lap of the race. That time for Jesus Cecilia. So 2 laps back to back, almost an equal of 1 minute 50.9.8. Amazing.
Yeah, fantastic pace once again from Odox. They have been well and truly the car to beat tonight.
Go back to Canapino and Rico because
Yeah,
Canapino's closed back up already. That didn't take too long at all. They've still got 3 laps to go, 4.5 minutes left on the clock. That doesn't matter. They know it's 3 laps left now. Here we go.
Yes, indeed. And how good has the defensive drive been from Ricardo Rico?
It's been very smart, hasn't it? He hasn't done anything stupid. He's been very predictable in the way he's defended. He hasn't made any bold moves. He hasn't blocked because he hasn't made 2 moves. He's just been driving very, very clever and very defensive, but Canapino might be close enough now.
Well, it all comes down to that last turn once again, and Canapino has continually had a bad run through there, so I don't know what's going to happen this time around. Has he got it down? Oh,
maybe not.
Not quite. Now, watch Rico. Moves to the inside. Leaves a bit of space on the outside for Canapino.
Canapino, as I said before, he needs to try and hold that outside line. If he can hold it out there, brake a little bit later, hold the outside line, get side by side through the apex, and then be able to get the inside for the next corner. He doesn't feel like he's able to do that. I don't think the car wants to grip for him on the outside. Of course, these guys are on fairly old tyres as well, so it definitely is playing a bit of a factor here. Canapino maybe doesn't have enough left in the tyres to get this move done. It's going to be very, very heated. 2.5 laps to go.
Yes, indeed.
What a great battle this has been.
Yeah, I almost can't think of anything to say. I'm so enthralled by this battle. This has been 3 hours in the making.
It almost doesn't need anything to be said because it's just it's amazing to watch, and you can almost feel the pressure that these guys are feeling and producing from themselves. Did that make any sense? I don't think it did, but anyway.
Look, it's words. It's and very good words.
It sounded good when it came out, and then I realised that doesn't make any sense. But anyway.
Look, we all got the sentiment. That's what counts here.
It's a J-ism. 2 laps to go now.
Yes. So the Odox Motorsport car starting their second last lap, and have a look at Canapino.
Really struggled. He does. He gets a really bad exit because he goes so deep, has to take a bit more of a shallow line through the second part of the chicane, which then means he's probably too far back by the time they get to the apex of the final corner.
He needs to focus on his corner exits, Canapino. That's where the Mercedes is strongest versus the BMW.
And I think it's the second part of the chicane is where he's losing the ground. If he was able to get a bit more time up through the second part of the chicane, he could maintain that same line, drive exactly the same way through the final corner. I think it's all down to that chicane. That's where he's losing the ground. And then comes up here and he's gained it all back again, but not able to do anything with it because Ricardo Rico is doing a great job of defending that second position.
He certainly is. As they come down through this beautiful plunging sequence of corners for the second last time.
It's going to be close to be 1 or 2 laps to go as well. They might only have one.
Yeah, who knows? Obviously you do because you have you have the clock.
It's saying it's a minute 7 right now, so I think they should be right to go 2 or 1.5 more laps. So Cecilia should make it around across the start-finish line before the clock hits 0. So that will be the next lap around, will be the final lap of the race. And I'm amazed that Ricardo Rico's been able to hold on purely based on the power advantage that the Mercedes has over the BMW down that front straight. But he's just doing enough in the right spots to mean that Canapino can't get it done. Will he be able to get it done here? Canapino...
Again, look at that
here we go.
Driving
and Canapino now, look, he's finally got the chicane right. He's close enough now. And Ricardo Rico's had to defend through the final corner. Canapino's been able to run the final corner normally. We might be able to see a bit of overspeed here.
Rico will...
Last lap of the race.
Here we go. Canapino on the outside. Is Rico going to be able to defend? Looks like he is. But what's going to happen in this sequence of corners? Canapino alongside now.
Over-under. Will we see an over-under? Rico.
He can't do it. He couldn't do it. He didn't have the space to do it. But now, you see, he almost had the ability to take the outside, but I think the car just doesn't have any tyres left.
That was amazing driving from Ricardo Rico. He saw that Canapino was going to get that over-under done and just moved over to defend, held the apex, made sure he stayed on the inside of the track a little bit longer than Canapino was expecting. He wasn't able to get a run. Terra Martin Esports, oh no! That's done. Ricardo Rico has given up the spot. I was just about to say the 51 car, the Terra Martin Esports car, has had to come into the pits on the last lap of the race to splash fuel. But wow, unfortunate end of that battle, but what a battle that was between Austin Canapino, Ricardo Rico. Well done, guys. That was absolutely entertaining to watch.
That was the finest defensive drive I've ever seen from Ricardo Rico. I don't think you could see a more perfect textbook execution of how to defend in a battle. Jesus
Cecilia around the final corner takes the win. Well done to Hodox Motorsport. What a battle they had been in. They had been the top of the class, but they didn't get it as easy as they were thinking. Austin Canapino will come across the line in second because he's already pulled a second on Ricardo Rico. And Ricardo Rico, what a fantastic job from him to try and hold on. Come out of the pits in the lead with a bit of an alternate strategy. And to end up and get themselves in that position that they did was a fantastic job. So well done to those guys. Looks like pretty much everyone else in the field are going to be fairly settled for position. Team Bushfig versus GTL VRT Gold may not be over. 16th and 17th. New tyres versus old tyres. Barry Morrison on old rubber. GTL VRT Gold. Yeah, Team Chimera will be in this battle for sure. So will we see a pass on the last lap here?
This is the big question. Barry Morrison is really pushing over those curbs now. I don't know. I don't think it's going to get done.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think he's got enough left. Team Chimera car also I don't think it's going to be able to get it done either. So looks like we may have positions settled at the front, in the mid-pack as well. So, yeah, it looks like it's all said and done, but congratulations once again to Odox Motorsport. They are very, very good drive. They've ended up 1st and 10th in this race. So, with the Terra Martin Esports car, unfortunately, have to jump in the lane on the last lap to splash fuel in. Has given the second Odox car a top 10 as well. So, 2 cars inside the top 10 for Odox Motorsport. Big congratulations to those guys.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I don't really know what more to say about Odox. They've just been the best. Full stop.
Yeah, most dominant team all races. Jesus Cecilia slows down. Actually looks like he may be out of fuel, is he? No, he's just slowing down to get a bit of a photo op with his teammate as they bring it back into the pits. But a fantastic drive from Jesus Cecilia. The pace that he showed. Have a look at the lap on the last lap of the race. Did the fastest lap of the race on the last lap with a 1:50.841 as well. So yeah, you never can complain when someone does the fastest lap of the race on the last lap.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's that really says it all, doesn't it? Just how immense the pace was from Odox Motorsport today. Fantastic to see.
We'll run through the official results after a fantastic race here at the Nurburgring to conclude the Blancpain Endurance Series. Odox Motorsport winning in the end by 22 seconds. Amazing the gap that they pulled after they got into the lead. Euphoria Racing managed to get by with a mistake from Sin Racing in the 444, so 2nd and 3rd for those guys. GT Ross Centre Pro in 4th, and Dream Spirits Racing, Dream Factory, Pure Racing, Team Yellow, Wave Driving Revolution, Gym Racing Azuri, and Odox Motorsport Samsung rounding out the top 10.
In 11th place, Zenith High Speed from 21st place. A fantastic drive from those guys. Gym Racing Pink finishes 12th from 18th. Paraguay Racing AV, unfortunately a drop from their starting position, but still a fine result in 13th place. Evolution Racing Team number 32. Nikodem Wisniewski brings that car home in 14th place, but you got to think what might have been had it not been for that incident at the chicane some laps before. TM Martin Esports number 51 in 15th place. Bushfink Racing Pink finishes in 16th place, up from 31st. A fantastic result from those guys. GTL VRT Gold in 17th. 18th, Team Chimera, the last car on the lead lap. 19th, U Isabel I, PSR Red. And rounding out the top 20, the number 29 Evolution Racing Team entry.
Yeah, and 21st, so we've got Red Face Racing Q Pro, then USBL I, PSR Yellow, Team Hussenfeld, BGT, Rincon Racing R2P, then Sim Racer Store by TX3, No Nonsense Racing Yellow, P&D Racing, DPR, XRS Team Blue, E41, ET Black, rounding out the top 30 positions, first car, 2 laps down.
Yes, indeed, and we come to our unfortunate results. The Esther Racing Team Ferrari in 31st, 7 laps down. You got to feel for those guys. They had unfortunate hardware or internet issues that put an end to another fantastic drive in that lone Ferrari in the field. Glacier North in 32nd position after a disconnection. SRB Racing as well, 33rd position, 12 laps down. Black Star Racing, 27 laps down in 34th. And the retirements. Race for Cat, Lesteves Fabares in 35th. Amis 5000, 96 laps down in 36th. Orion Race Team, 37th. 38th, GTL VRT Red. TR Martin Esports, number 65 and 39th. 40th, MSP Phoenix Racing 2. Rounding out your 41 car field, VEC Sim Racing NSH. Non-starters.
Well, Reese, that's the end of Saturday night drinks here on VX Online.
I'm sad.
Yeah, we'll work something out for to do on Saturday nights. Not every Saturday night, but every now and again we'll do something on Saturday nights because we've enjoyed being here for Saturday nights. It's been different, even if you do turn up a little bit late every now and again. It's all right. I'll let you off, mate. I'll let you off.
Yeah, well, I mean, reflecting on this, it's been a fantastic qualifier series for the Blancpain Endurance Series, and you got to think, if the racing in this was anything to go by, this was for the final 26 spots in this year's Pro Series Championship. So when the actual Pro Series begins, we'll be in for some fantastic racing.
Yeah, it should be an awesome series, starting in, I think, about 5 or 6 weeks' time as well. So I think from memory, I'm gonna go back and double check, but from memory, I think the first race is at Bathurst.
Yes,
well.
I believe so.
So I'm going to be proven maybe right because you're agreeing with me. So I'm liking that you're agreeing with me, but see if I can find.
I think that just opens us up to the possibility that we'll both be wrong.
Yeah, probably. But of course, our next broadcast will be tomorrow. We're back on in around about 9 hours' time or thereabouts tomorrow for the iRacing Daytona 24. Our friends at RaceBot will be live for that green flag in around about an hour's time, but we're still live tomorrow for 8 hours for the Daytona 24. We've got the iRacing official V8 Supercars on Monday. We raised some money for a community member, Tristan Yellen, who unfortunately is battling MND. So hopefully we can raise some funds for him. We're going to run some midgets and hopefully raise some funds for Tristan in his fight with MND. And then Thursday we'll be back with the CPR Kart and Sim Parts Rallycross. We'll be back at Nurburgring next Sunday too, Reese, with the resumption of the Oceanic Endurance Championship. Can't wait for that. And then next Wednesday, the Wednesday after that I should say, the 31st, only 11 days away, start of Oceanic Sprint Championship. But unfortunately you're not going to be here for that because you're off to where I want to be that weekend.
Yeah, certainly. I'm going to be jetting off to the Bathurst 12-hour to catch up with a bunch of sim racing mates over east, and well, it'll be sad not to see you there, Jay. But next year, eh? Yeah,
I'll be there next year. A very, very good friend Sam Man will be there as well, so you'll see him there, and I'm looking forward to hearing all the reports of what goes on, and
yes.
I'm sure we'll see lots of things on Facebook, but you're also going to miss out on one of the most exciting events, the start of the Majors Series, which is that weekend that Sunday, the day of the Bathurst 12 Hour, we start the first round of the major series, the International Region, broadcast here on V8 Online, with the start being the classic Daytona 2.4.
Yep.
With the old school IMSA cars. Looking forward to that.
Hell yeah, that's fantastic stuff. The Nissan GTP ZX Turbo and the Audi 90 GTO around Daytona for 2.4 hours. It's going to be a fantastic event, and I really wish I could be there, but I mean, real racing, I guess, sort of trumps that for now. It'd be a bit hard to get into the comms box from the other side of the continent.
So I think you need to work out a way so that all of you guys can get in for commentary at some point throughout that race. We'll need to chat to you all at some point. We might have to sort something out. We'll work something out.
Certainly.
But we might wrap it up. Thanks again for jumping in, Reese, and I'll let you off for being a little bit late. But it's been an absolutely fantastic series, and big thank you to iRacing for letting us broadcast the Pro Series qualifiers. It's been a very big honour to be able to do it. It's not something that iRacing just let anyone jump out and do. So a big thank you to them for giving their trust in us being able to do it.
Yeah, certainly. Big thanks to iRacing, and I guess we can only hope that we put on a fantastic show for everyone to enjoy. I know that the audience numbers, the audience engagement in the broadcast chat has been fantastic to see, and forming a bit of a rapport with these international sim racing teams has been awesome to see as well.
Yeah, it has.
So thank you all.
Yep, big thank you to everyone for tuning in throughout the Blancpain Endurance Series. But as we said, we'll be back in not too long. We'll jump in for the Daytona 24 in around about 9 hours time for our stint. But on behalf of myself, Reese, and also Thomas Hinz, who jumped in, and Corey Ott, who jumped in for a couple of minutes tonight, but unfortunately had issues, a big thank you to everyone for tuning in. Well, good luck to all the teams for the Pro Series, and big congratulations to all the teams that have made it. And the coverage of the season proper will be on RaceSpot in the coming weeks. But big thank you. Until next time, it's bye for now.
You